Alright guys, welcome back to another Legends ZA video. Today we're going to be going over the usage stats and basically going over every single Pokemon that made it to OU after the new month has started. So we got the usage stats yesterday. Hopefully I'm recording this video and uploading on the 3rd of November. But over almost 250,000 games of the ZA metagame within only 2 weeks is actually pretty insane. A lot of people really wanted to use a lot of these new megas. And basically we just have the usage stats. Some of the mons are properly OU tiered by usage now. So we're going to be going over every single mon, explain why they ended up getting the usage they did, and because obviously if a mon's getting used a lot, there's going to be a reason for it, and I'll just let you guys know how each of these mons are currently working in the metagame. But if you guys do enjoy this video, leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. One more month. Well, we got November, December before 2026, and we are now 47 subscribers away from 1,000. So I really want to reach this goal. So if you guys are enjoying the content, let me know. Subscribe if you're interested. And yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to start off with our first Pokemon, aka the #1 most used Pokemon in the current metagame right now, coming in at 39% usage. Almost 40% of teams have this Pokemon on it, and there's none other than Clefable. Now, Clefable, I don't think anyone was surprised that Clefable was the #1 used Pokemon. I pretty much called it, to be honest. I said some of the top Pokemon are going to be Drill, Clefable, Garchomp, and so on, and Clefable is definitely going to be #1. Now, why is Clefable the most used Pokemon and people consider it to be the best of the best in this metagame? Now, like I said, this metagame is very similar to Gen 6 OU, and Clefable pretty much reprises a lot of the roles that has been running ever since it became a fairy type back in Generation 6. It's one of the most important defensive pieces in the metagame because of the fact that it has two very good abilities in Magic Guard and Unaware. Now, Unaware, well, in the beginning, actually, when this metagame came out, a lot of people were using Magic Guard, but as time went on and we realized, oh, there's a lot of really scary setup sweepers and offensive Pokemon, Unaware became more useful due to the fact that, something like Mega Floette Eternal with Calm Mind, or Mega Greninja or Nasty Plot, and even just setup sweepers in general like Swords Dance Garchomp, Dragon Dance, Dragonite, Unaware became very useful because in terms of the Pokemon in the metagame that have Unaware, Clefable is the only Unaware mon. So in terms of ways of stopping setup sweepers, Clefable is pretty much the best, defensive piece that the tier needs in order to handle some of these scary setup sweepers that I mentioned. Now, typically in terms of the moves that Clefable runs, Clefable has a very wide and vast move pool. Now, you're always going to be running Moonblast, but obviously Clefable is a Stealth Rocker. It has access to Calm Mind as well. Obviously, in terms of attacks for Calm Mind sets, you have access to Flamethrower to get things like Skarmory and Scizor. You have Recovery with either Softboiled or Moonlight. Again, this is a metagame with National Dex move pools. Now, it's not indicative of how the champions metagame will be, because I'm assuming transfer moves are still dead. But in this pet mod, Legends ZA OU Pokemon are using the Nat Dex move pool, so Clef does have access to Softboiled. If you don't want to use Softboiled because you're using a move like Teleport, due to the fact that Teleport and Softboiled are incompatible, Clefable still has access to Moonlight, which is slightly worse than Softboiled because Tyranitar Sand obviously reduces Moonlight's recovery by I think it gets cut by a third. So yeah, that's pretty bad. But either way, yeah, Clefable has always been good. I like it a lot. A lot of people are running Spadef because you kind of need to handle Mega Greninja, but at the same time, it's tough, because Fizdef Clefable honestly handles things like Garchomp unless it's Life Orb, Dragon Dance, Dragonite a little bit better, but you don't want to be completely like weak to Mega Greninja, which is why people are running Spadef. But at the same time, Mega Greninja just has Gunk Shot now, so yeah, good luck with that. If you're Spadef, you are just going to end up dying. But yeah, it's just tough. It really depends on the team. I like both of them, but sometimes I run Spadef and I get into a matchup where I wish I was Fizdef, because now I can't switch into Crook as well. I can't switch into Garchomp as well. You're even taking some good damage from something like Gourgeist, Power Whip, or Poltergeist, and this thing doesn't even have any attack investment the majority of the time. So yeah, it's pretty sad. But even handling something like Zygarde 10. But either way, yeah, Clefable is the #1 used Pokemon in the ZA OU metagame, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon unless, the game gets DLC and we have more broken mons. But Clefable is just the go-to defensive piece. A lot of people say it's pretty much a mandatory Pokemon on like balance and BO structures, which I don't blame them for, but that's just how it is. Coming in at number 2 usage with 34.4% usage is Excadrill. Again, this is pretty much just Oras OU. Excadrill is the number 1 used mon in Oras OU. But here's number 2. Obviously, Clef is just a bit more meta, you know, what's the word? Necessary. It's more of a necessity than Excadrill. But Excadrill still manages to shine and all of this good stuff because it's such good roll compression. Like, obviously you could run, a lot of people have been taking inspiration from the Aura sets with running both Stealth Rocks and Rapid Spin on the same slot, and it's very good to be able to roll compress like this because that means you have a free move slot on your Clefable, that means you have a free move slot on your Skarmory or Garchomp, for example. Like, a lot of teams have utilized Excadrill plus Skarmory. You know, this one has rocks, this one has spikes, and obviously there's a few defoggers, but Excadrill is pretty much the go-to removal option and does actually synergize well with spikes because obviously if you spin, you don't get rid of your spikes that you've put on the opponent's side. So there's a thing where, like, this is pretty much the go-to Excadrill set. Now, before Toxic distribution was cut, because we were just like, yeah, we don't want everything having Toxic, only mons that get it by level up or TM, you know, in the ZA metagame. You know, this thing could run Toxic in the past, and even in something like Oras, Drill Toxic is actually quite nice to get rid of, to Toxic something like Zapdos, which was like your best switching. But obviously there's no Zapdos in this metagame, and pretty much Skarm is your best switching, but you know, as you know, Skarm is immune to Toxic and resists both of your dual stabs. So yeah, Skarmory is pretty much a hard counter most of the time. But yeah, it's just a very good roll compression. Drill is also pretty threatening offensively as well. Even despite the fact of all of these new Mega Evolutions, if you get rid of some of these Mega Evolutions, look at Drill. Drill's literally sitting here. It has the same attack stat as Mega Aerodactyl, Mega Phalanx, even higher attack by 1 than Dragonite and T-Tar. So yeah, Drill is very powerful, even without any investment. And, you know, even outside of these sort of sets, you know, both Sandrush Drill and Mold Breaker Drill are very useful. I would say Mold Breaker is more meta relevant because, again, Sandrush pretty much means you're going to be running Tyranitar most of the time. Sorry, Hippo, you're not seeing any usage. But yeah, pretty much on Sandrush, you either go like Choice Banded, or you can go like Sugarberry, or just pretty much any item with like Swords Dance, and then just end up running dual stabs. You can afford the Adamant Nature due to the fact that you're faster than most Scarfers, unless you really care about Scarf Gren, which Excadrill cannot outspeed with Adamant Nature and Sand. Adamant is the way to go. 405 attack is pretty insane. You end up actually being able to beat your checks like Slowbro at +2 on Gourgeist. Well, to be fair, Gourgeist, like, low-key Lumberry might be the shout. You know, I haven't seen Lumberry, but I think Lumberry on like SD Sand could be very interesting because, again, Drill doesn't really have much of a defensive response other than like Skarmory and potentially Chesnaught. Even then, Chesnaught could just be one flinch away from you like beating it up because, again, even at +2, Chesnaught's getting to it killed by Ironhead. And then yeah, the Drill is just a really fun mon to use, and outside of the, like, the utility is good, the setup sets are good. Mold Breaker, again, very useful ability if you're not running like Sand teams with Tyranitar, so it's a thing where you can just end up still going the Stealth or Rapid Spin set. And yeah, this is pretty much all Drill does. The EVs are quite customizable as well. A lot of people have been running like spreads like this. You go like 32 HP EVs in order to maximize leftovers recovery. I typically go max speed on my drills because I want to 1v1 opposing extra drills. I don't like being in a situation where if it's drill versus drill, and obviously like they don't obviously have like a hard counter like Skarmory, for example, I actually want to be able to like risk staying in and at least have the chance of winning the speed tie Oko in the opposing drill. But a lot of people have been just running slower drills because they want to have it a bit more bulky. But I don't want to say drills are frail mon, but like it's not that guy in like it has average bulk. Like it's not particularly frail, but my thing is I'd prefer to have like a faster drill so I can actually outspeed things like Volcanion. Like, I saw a drill set that was slower than Volcanion. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, why would I want to be slower than Volcanion? But either way, yeah, drill is the number 2 most used Pokemon in this metagame. Coming in at number 3 most used is Greninja. Now, I'm not mentioning Mega Greninja because Mega Greninja has a completely different usage stat, which is insane. But either way, base Greninja has gone through quite a bit in this tier so far, and a lot of people, even players like LPZ, made a post on the thread talking about how both Greninjas are a bit annoying to deal with, and I can understand why both Greninjas are more are annoying to deal with. I think Mega Gren is stupid, but base Greninja on the other hand, I feel like it's slightly more manageable. But I feel like the most used sets so far have just been like Battle Bond Nasty Plot sets, particularly because even though you don't get access to protein, like you're still kind of hitting hard at +2, and especially if you go like a Life Orb, you manage to get a kill with Battle Bond, you boost your special attack, and speed, and yeah, like it's just a very annoying Pokemon to deal with. In terms of your coverage, like you pretty much just get away with running dual stabs plus Sludge Wave, or unless you want to drop Water Move for Ice Beam, but I don't really think that's worth it, to be honest. Like you could go Scald, Surf, Hydro Pump. I like Surf, but I feel like Surf is gonna miss out on a KO, so I always go Hydro Pump on my Nasty Plot Greninjas. But yeah, so this is the typical Greninja set with Battle Bond. Everyone always goes Life Orb, but I don't really think I've seen any other item other than Life Orb, because again, Greninja 103 special attack in Gen 9 isn't that crazy. Like there's a lot that can actually switch into Greninja quite comfortably, especially particular special walls like Hisuian Goodra, Galarian Slowking, and so on. So Life Orb really needs you really need Life Orb for the damage output, but I don't even want to say Glowking's a good answer, because if you're at +3, Glowking just dies unless it's like max special defense Assault Vest, and even then, you don't even kill Gren back unless you go T-Bolt. If Slowking, I'm pretty sure Glowking gets T-Bolt, but I don't think people run T-Bolt on Glowking anyway. Like he only has like one target. Sludge Bomb still will 2-hit kill Greninja anyway, so yeah. But in terms of that, there's also choice specs. Protein with Ice Beam, Sludge Wave, Dark Pulse, and potentially U-Turn as well. But you know, pretty much you always need Ice Beam, Sludge Wave on specs. I don't think you're really like you need Dark Pulse as well, because or else you just get you actually lose the Aegislash, you lose the Glowking without Dark Pulse. So yeah, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse are pretty mandatory. Sludge Wave is also pretty necessary as well in order to actually punish Fairy type switches like Clefable and Mega Floette. So yeah, so specs, Scarf, like Greninja kind of does it all. I've even seen fucking Choice Band. And you know the Greninja's pretty good in the metagame if it can actually afford to go choice band, because you actually have pretty good what do you call it, physical moves. Well, I think it actually just got liquidation this gen, which is actually pretty cool. So Gunk Shot, Sludge Wave. It's a shame that your Dark Stab is pretty arse. I'll be honest, it's pretty bad. But Low Kick is also really good. Like you actually don't need Night Slash, because Night Slash like kind of sucks. Let's be honest. But yeah, catching out like a Goodra, potentially with Low Kick and just Oko in that, Oko and T-Tar, 2-hit KO and T-Tar with U-Turn as well. Like I low-key might have to experiment with Bandit Greninja. This is actually a very fun set. But yeah, very versatile offensive threat. Pretty hard to stop most of the time, because again, Protein basically changes this type, so it can always end up like beating its checks most of the time. And you know, choice, but you never really know what it's going to do, and then you have to still take into account that it could always mega at any opportunity. And yeah, it's just a very strong Pokemon in the metagame right now. Coming in at number 4 with a 33% usage rate is base Skarmory. Now Skarmory, again, like Clefable, one of the most necessary defensive pieces in the metagame. If you look at the defense stat of Pokemon in this metagame, outside of Mega Evolution, Skarmory is pretty much has one of the highest defense stats in the game. So what Skarmory is able to do is able to check mons like Excadrill, check mons like Garchomp, though Garchomp started to run Fire Blast now, so they're catching on. But Skarmory is just the definition of physical bulk in this metagame, and I don't think outside of obvious Mega Evolutions like Mega Aggron, Steelix, and so on, mons that don't see any play whatsoever, Skarmory is pretty much the highest, is the Pokemon with the highest defense stat. Now, typically, what Skarmory runs is Rocky Helmet over Leftovers, because you want to punish the contact attackers, particularly someone like Excadrill that can actually spin on Skarmory, because you can always just switch in Skarmory on Excadrill, and either they're going to spin or Earthquake or Iron Head, and you don't really care about any of those moves. So, obviously, you can get some trip on Excadrill if they kick Iron Head or Rapid Spin. Like I mentioned earlier with the roll compression, Excadrill can fit Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin, and that frees up the spike slot for Skarmory. It has access to Roost, Whirlwind. I don't think there's really ever a situation where you drop Roost or Whirlwind. There was a time I dropped Whirlwind and I instantly regretted it, because there was just a set on one that Skarmory could have actually phased out, and then I wasn't able to phase it out and I lost the game. So yeah, I'm never really dropping Whirlwind ever again. Then the last move is pretty much up to you. Brave Bird has seen some play. Iron Head particularly. I think Iron Head has been useful for dealing with Clefable. And even though you can actually... Clefable pretty much just 1v1s you if it gets off a T-Wave. You're not really going to beat that. You can PP stall the recovery move, but they should actually just swap out into one that, you know, beat Skarmory anyway. But it's a thing where Iron Head is also dealt, you can deal with Mega Floette. That mon can pretty much snowball out of control if you let it, you know, set up too many Calm Minds. And, you know, people have ran Spadef Skarmory in response to that. But yeah, pretty much Iron Head, Whirlwind, Spikes, Roost is the play. If you don't want to run Spikes, which it's a bit questionable, I would say, you can actually fit Body Press. And I did like Body Press in the past because you could actually OHKO something like Drill. But it's not really too necessary anyway, because you'll eventually beat Drill anyway, due to the fact that Iron Head, you know, still does damage, and if you're Brave Bird, you're still doing a bit more chip. So Body Press is kind of falling out of favor, but you know, this is pretty much the typical Skarmory set. Fizz there for Spadef. I think some people like Spadef, but again, I've never really liked Spadef because I'm like, this one has 70 base special defense. It's not really checking anything other than like the fairy types, and even then Drill kind of does that for you without having to sacrifice Skarmory's physical bulk for that. Now you end up losing to something like Dragonite a bit harder. Like if you go Spadef Skarm, like Dragonite is doing like 60 to 70% with Fire Punch if it's running that. So yeah, I'll prefer not to run Spadef, but it's up to you guys. It depends on what you want to use. But yeah, Skarmory has just been a very useful defensive piece in the metagame, able to handle some of the strongest offensive physical attackers like Excadrill, Dragonite, Garchomp, Scizor, and even something like Krookodile and Gyarados. So we've reached the end of the top 5. So Garchomp coming in at number 5 with a 29% usage rate. Yeah, Garchomp is just that guy. Garchomp just does a lot of things. And to be fair, I like to compare Garchomp's role in this metagame to Oras. I'm going to be making a lot of Oras comparisons because, again, Oras OU is the best OU of all time. Don't get it twisted. But yeah, I like to make the Oras comparisons because, again, like, this is a ZA game, both set in the Kalos region, and coincidentally the dex just works out, you know, in fact that some of the top mons, you know, are some of the top mons in Oras OU as well. But either way, what differentiates ZA Garchomp from Oras Garchomp is the fact that it has access to spikes, which I think is pretty big because a lot of Garchomps nowadays are hazard stacking Garchomps with Rocky Helmet, Rust Skin with Stealth Rocks and Spikes, and either they go Dragon Tail, Earthquake, or Fire Blast, EQ. You never drop EQ, to be honest, that's just trolling. But yeah, Dragon Tail or Fire Blast get the job done. I do like Fire Blast a bit more because as much as detail is nice for phasing, I prefer to actually just cook the Skarmory because Skarmory is one of the top defoggers, which I actually forgot to mention when I was speaking about. I should have mentioned Skarmory using defog. But yeah, you kind of just want to punish Skarmory because that's like one of the best switchings to Garchomp in general. Even punishing something like Gourgeist Super, which you know, won't like Fire Blast whatsoever. But yeah, this has been a very fun Pokemon to use. Garchomp, again, similar to Greninja, has a multitude of sets that are able to work in its favor. For example, Garchomp has access to Swords Dance, EQ, Scale Shot. Like, this is still a very strong you know, physical attacker, despite the fact that Loaded Dice is not available in this metagame. You know, like, you're mainly just using it for the fact that you can boost your speed, because Scarfers kind of go, not the fact that they go underrated, but they don't really see that much play. Like, there's only a few Scarfers that are debatably worth using, and Garchomp is faster than a good chunk of them. For example, unless you're using Scarf Greninja, you're Heinous Man, if or Gel, or anything, whatever you identify as. If you use Scarf Greninja, there's been a lot of Scarf usage, like Krookodile, Scarf, Hoopa. Who else is using Scarf? I've seen Scarf Volcanion, but that kind of is troll, I'll be so honest. But yeah, Garchomp coming in at 102 base speed is very useful because you outspeed common Scarfers. So once you get off that skill shot, you're pretty much going to the races. And you know, +2 Garchomp, EQ, Life Orb boosted. It's going to OHKO most things. It's going to OHKO a lot of Pokemon. And even Scale Shot is quite useful for dealing with multi-scale Dragonite, assuming you get, like, I think 3, well, not 3 hits because multi-scale is annoying. But I think 3 hits might actually kill Dragonite, I don't know. But assuming the 2 Scale Shot hits are enough to OHKO, but I'm not too sure. I'll have to run the calcs on that. But yeah, offensively, defensively, with utility, Garchomp is very threatening. And even Scarf Garchomp itself. Like, Garchomp has been able to run Choice Scarf, typically just Outrage, EQ, Stone Edge. I don't think Stone Edge is too useful, I'll be honest, but like, it's just typical Edge Quick combination plus dual stabs. I think that can really help you out. Fire Fang is okay, but again, like, Fire Fang is doing piss damage to Skarmory unless you're at +2, which you're not going to be able to get with a Choice Scarf. But either way, yeah, Garchomp makes sense to why it's the 5th most used Pokemon in the tier. I think it's just a hazard stack sort of playstyle that Garchomp can enable now, thanks to having both Stealth Rock and Spikes. Again, this also frees up another move slot on something like Skarmory, for example, Clefable, and yeah, it's just good with roll compression. Garchomp is a threatening and bulky Pokemon. Even, I would say, like, it and Drill have relative bulk. I mean, you're actually bulkier than Drill because you have a very similar HP stat, but you just have higher defenses in general. You're also faster. So yeah, Garchomp is a very useful Pokemon in the current metagame. Alright guys, coming in at number 6, we have Dragonite with a usage of 25.3% usage. A quarter of all teams this month or last month were using Dragonite on their teams. And it's a no-brainer, to be honest. Dragonite is just good. DD, what was I going to say? DD, multi-scale, heavy-duty boots, just always gets the job done. E-speed, Ice Spinner, Earthquake, like, it's very customizable in terms of the attacks that you want to use on Dragonite, but I feel like you always want to be using E-speed on D-Dance sets. So, yeah, those two moves are pretty much confirmed. I feel like Earthquake is also pretty good, but Fire Punch also gets a similar job done, because at least you can actually hit Skarmory with Fire Punch and also hit other steel types like Aegislash and Excadrill. You also have Ice Spinner to hit opposing Dragonite, which I think is also pretty nice as well. But Earthquake is just a nice neutral option. You can actually like like Magic Guard Clef variants. You also get T-Punch, but I don't think anyone has really used T-Punch like that. Outside of DD setup sets, I think a lot of people have been testing out bulky Dragonite sets with like Roost and Defog. Again, Defog is quite competitive in this metagame. Outside, like, you have Skarmory, Volcanion, Dragonite, even something like Salamence. I think Salamence is a bit better at the defogging sort of sets due to the fact that it has Intimidate, and I think yeah, obviously Intimidate would just make it bulkier than Dragonite, for example. If you compare the bulk, like Salamence is a lot less bulky than Dragonite just in terms of raw defensive stats, but Intimidate does make it more bulky on the physical defense side. So yeah, in terms of that, like, I think a lot of people have also been testing out T-Wave sets. Excuse me if I'm not getting the exact move slots right. I'm just remembering moves that I've seen people posting in terms of sets. EV wise, I guess, I don't even know. You could actually just go max defense. I don't know if you need to speed creep anything at this moment in time. 80 base speed is pretty much enough to get the job done in terms of things that are OU relevant, unless you actually want to outspeed something like T-Tar, but I think that's just a waste of EVs. As you can see, like, just to get here, 104 speed EVs, like, I'm okay. But yeah, just having it has good utility like T-Wave, and I think that's why Dragonite's so more used than defensive Salamence, due to the fact that you know, you have T-Wave and Salamence don't got that. It does get Wish though. I think both of them get Wish, no? Maybe I'm tweaking now. It's only Salamence that gets Wish, but yeah. But either way, Dragonite, offensive and a defensive threat. I don't think a lot of people have used Choice Banded. Obviously, I'm a bit monotype brained when it comes to Choice Band, because this is what what do you call it, Dragonite runs on mono flying teams. But yeah, I think Choice Band could have a play as well, but it's just more consistent to use DD with heavy duty boots because multi-scale is a broken ability. So yeah, Dragonite coming in at number 6, just below Garchomp with a 25% win rate. I mean, not win rate, usage rate. Just trailing behind Dragonite with a 24.4% usage rate is Aegislash. And let me tell you now, guys, Aegislash is one of the most annoying ones of all time. Like, this is taking me back to when Aegislash was legal in XYOU before even Oras came out back in 2013. Those were the Wild West days, bro. Aegislash was putting in prime numbers, and it and Greninja are, you know, doing their thing. That's what I'm gonna say. But yeah, Aegislash, it's just a very annoying Pokemon to deal with. Did it have CC back in Gen 6? I actually don't remember. I really do not remember. But either way, yeah, Aegislash is just annoying. No reliable switch-ins whatsoever. Like, Aegislash is always going to have a move to hit something in the metagame. And I feel like Aegislash is a very potent Pokemon at punishing common defensive cores. Like, I remember back in the day, well, I say back in the day, it was like a week or two ago. But, I feel like I was relying a lot on Clefable, Slowbro cores, and Aegislash with Steel and Ghost coverage, aka his dual stabs, just ate those cores up for breakfast. Now, Aegislash has seen a lot of really cool sets. Now, before Toxic Distribution was cut, it obviously had sub-Toxic King Shield Shadow Ball sets, but obviously it doesn't have Toxic anymore, so rip those sets. But in terms of other sets that I had access to, Swords Dance sets with Iron Head, Shadow Sneak, and Close Combat. This will get the jump on something like Tyranitar, especially if Tyranitar wasn't like max speed. But obviously Tyranitar goes on the tap boost in nature. Your low-key, you're actually slower than Tita. I completely forgot you're slower than Tita. You might have to go Jolly. But for the Titas that aren't running speed, like, this was a very dangerous set. Because you could actually afford Adamant and then obviously have 140 attack, Adamant reaching about 416 attack. So obviously this could be Clefable, this could be Slowbro. Like even Shadow Sneak is 2-hit KO and Slowbro at +2. So, you know, you could take that into account. You also had choice sets like Choice Specs. I think Choice Specs is like, obviously, Aegislash is not using Choice Scarf. The mon is too slow for that shit. But, you know, you have Shadow Ball, Flash Cannon. I run CC as a third move because I actually want to Oko T-Town run one hit rather than potentially... Like, if I face an AV T-Tar, Flash Cannon is not even 2-hit KOing, I don't believe. And I don't want to get Pursuit Trapped. So, you know, CC is also very good for that. I also like Shadow Ball as well because realistically, look at Aegislash's special move pool. Like, you could actually just go 2 special attacks and Shadow Sneak here. Because Ghost, again, very spammable offensive type. Again, the only relevant dark types are just like T-Town, Croc, and Croc does not really take Shadow Ball all that well. But again, your Pursuit Trap. So Choice Specs wasn't really the set I like to use. You could always just go a mixed attacking sort of set with the same attacks. Maybe not Flash Cannon, because you'll need King Shield, for example, but this would get the job done. You hitting fairies just so you could King Shield and not die to Pursuit in one hit from like Croc or Tita. Well, like, yeah, you just would not die. So yeah, Aegislash, very versatile Pokemon, very annoying for defensive cores that rely on like Clefable and Slowbro. Like realistically, I was always making sure to run Hoopa because I know Hoopa would not get folded by Aegislash. Obviously, you obviously don't resist Ghost, but at the same time, you know, Assault Vest Hoopa would make you bulky enough to actually handle Aegislash's Shadow Ball attacks. So I'm actually very shocked Scizor made it into the top 10 most used Pokemon in the metagame, but coming in at number 8 with 21% usage, Scizor manages to land itself here. Now, I think I underestimated Scizor's offensive capabilities in the metagame, where Clef is the #1 most used Pokemon, and Mega Floette is probably one of the most annoying Pokemon in general in the metagame. Scizor, yeah, so SD sets, very annoying, as usual, like Swords Dance, Bullet Punch, Knockoff, and CC. I don't even know if you need CC. Like, I think I saw some people running dual Wing Beat, but I do believe you need CC because you can actually target steel types pretty well, like Excadrill, Hisui, and Goodra. I was gonna say Oko Tita, but you Oko Tita or Bullet Punch anyway. But yeah, this pretty much just got the job done. Dual Wing Beat was nice for you know, things that manage to resist steel, like Talonflame, but you're never staying in on Talonflame anyway. But it's more like just being able to, what do you call it? You can hit Skarm a lot harder. Now, obviously, Knockoff +2 Scizor, particularly if you go Life Orb, can 2-hit KO Skarmory with a Knockoff. But after that, like, if they're Iron Defense sets or, you know, like, you can still 1v1 them, but at the same time, you could actually just keep SDing on Skarmory if they're not, like, Body Press or anything. Because Iron Head is bouncing off, and Brave Bird does decent damage, but a lot of them are running Iron Head a bit more, so, you know, Skarmory is actually set up for them in front of Scizor, but they'll just whirlwind you out anyway. So, yeah, other than that, in terms of Scizor's defensive capabilities, being a steel type with pretty respectable bulk if you actually invest into it. And I say if you invest into it, because if you don't, Scizor's actually not that bulky. But, you know, Spadef has been used to some pretty good effect in order to handle mons like Mega Floette and Clefable. You also can somewhat handle, oh yeah, you probably, if it's not CC, then your U-turn. Especially on like a Spadef set, because this can actually handle Greninja at like 1 point. Like, you could always just get a free U-turn off and you probably would not go Life Orb on a Spadef set. But Leftovers or Heavy Duty Boots, and you get like a Spadef Scizor that actually gets a decent job done. If you don't want Swords Dance, you also have access to Defog. Again, Defog stocks are all-time low right now. So if a mon gets Defog, that is pretty good for it. So yeah, Scizor is able to just, you know, check some of the scariest fairy types in the metagame. Decent. Oh wait, this has no roost at all. I was about to tweak with you guys. No roost at all. Yeah, this needs roost. But yeah, this like is a bit passive. Like I kind of don't like not being able to fit Knockoff, but you obviously need Bullet Punch and U-turn, obviously, and you also need roost. So yeah, if you have other removal options like a Spin Excadrill, then I guess you can just drop Defog and go like Knockoff. But yeah, pretty much Scizor's quite customizable both offensively and defensively. And yeah, I didn't think it would make it into the top 10, I'll be honest. Like, I know people are using Scizor a lot more because Mega Floette was fucking annoying people and you know, stuff like that. But I've used SD. I like SD Scizor. It's a pretty fun set to use. So number 9 is Volcanion, coming in at 16%. There's a pretty huge jump between Scizor and Volcanion by 5%, which is kind of interesting to see. But Volcanion, yeah, Volcanion, I love this guy. Definitely one of the toughest Pokemon to switch into in this metagame. Even though you would think its stabs are kind of bad because, you know, walled by water types and also dragon types. But if you really deep the dragon types in our metagame, Goodra doesn't resist fire and Garchomp doesn't resist water. And, you know, who wants to be switching in on Super Scald with a 30% burn chance? Except for the fact when I use it, I never get any burns with Steam Eruption. So take that as you will. But yeah, Volcanion's defensive typing and defensive profile is just very useful in this metagame. Due to the fact that it just has the stats to work. Like, it will always take a good hit from something. Maybe not a ground type move, but you know, neutral attacks, Volcanion can take them pretty comfortably and just dish out the damage very well. A lot of people like slotting Volcanion on their teams to assist teammates that struggle to beat steel types. Like, once Skarmory's dead, like, Volcanion comes on Skarmory pretty much all the time, and then you're just like, well, where's my Volcanion switching? And you know, like, you have to rely on your special rules, which you may not have. Like, even something like Clefable doesn't like switching into Volcanion continuously, particularly if it is unaware, because unaware typically goes heavy-duty boots. So the thing where if you get the burn, then Clefable pretty much is just losing its health at all time. The coverage is also pretty good on Volcanion. You get access to Sludge Wave, you get access to what other Earth Power. I think Earth Power is also pretty useful for dealing with opposing Volcanion as well. As you can see, you're immune to water and you quarter resist fire. So yeah, you're obviously not beating opposing Volcanion without Earth Power. But yeah, a lot of people now have been starting to run Taunt because you know, switching like Slowbro, for example. Like, Slowbro can obviously take Steam Eruption and Flamethrower. Again, water types resist your stabs, but you know, if you taunt it, you prevent it from teleporting, you just chip it down. The regenerator kinda will just like stop that from even happening. But yeah, taunt has just been useful for dealing with something like Slowking and you know, just other defensive pieces in the metagame that kind of rely on offensively, like Clef, for example. If you taunt Clef and you continuously keep chipping it down, like, you could actually just keep that thing low for the entire game. And a low Clef, especially like if you pair it with Mega Greninja, that's just game. Honestly, that's just game. So yeah, Volcanion has been very useful. I am testing this taunt set a lot more, and yeah, Volcanion pretty much just goes 252, 252, modest nature to maximize its damage output. I've tried to run some defensive sort of Volcanion set. I don't remember the EVs, I'll be honest, but yeah, it managed to live a few ground type attacks and then just like revenge kill something like Excadrill quite comfortably. But yeah, you could also go Wisp if you feel like Steam Eruption is never burning. But yeah, pretty much this is all Volcanion's needing. And yeah, also Defog as well. But yeah, I kind of stopped running Defog because someone just told me, why are you gonna run Defog Volcanion when you lose to all the rockers? And I'm like, you lose to the ground types. And I'm like, yeah, you might be onto something there, Chief. You might be onto something. So yeah, I'm typically just going taunt free attacks, and you know, you can get the job done. Sub is also useful, but obviously this mod is kind of forced to run boots nowadays, and you know, like, you could afford sub back in Oras because you had no boots, so you just dealt with the fact that you're losing 25. But like, you could actually go leftovers. It's really up to you, but I think boots is just a very easy item to slap on Volcanion. And rounding up the top 10 slot is Slowbro, coming in at 15.5% usage rate. And yeah, Slowbro, again, similar to Skarmory, the physical sort of bastions of the ZAOU metagame. Slowbro is able to handle quite a lot of Pokemon and has and will continue to do so in this metagame. It handled Zygarde 50 when it was legal, handled Mega Metagross, it somewhat handled Mega Lucario. Like, Slowbro's defensive profile is so good, like, you can just end up like checking a lot of these Pokemon. Now, a lot of people nowadays aren't actually, well, there's been a person that was pushing a you know, a Spadef sort of Slowbro set, because in comparison with its you know, compatriot Slowking, which we'll be speaking about later, much later to be honest. But yeah, this was typically a set that you could run, because like, people were saying, oh, run Slowking because Slowking is more specially bulky, so it could actually handle mixed Mega Starmie sets. But if you actually look at the stats here between Slowbro and Slowking, if you go a Fizdef Slowking, you're still less bulkier by 2 points compared to a Slowbro with 16 defensive Vs with a boost in nature. So typically, you'd still end up with pretty much the same special defense stat. So yeah, so this is what people have been running on their Slowbros now a bit more frequently. But to be honest, I've not been the biggest fan of this, because now you kind of have, like, not to say Slowking is worse physically, but like it just can't switch in as well as Slowbro, compared to like if you had Slowbro with 350 defense versus 286. So like you end up not being able to switch into Zygarde all that well. You end up not being able to switch into Drill and Garchomp as well either. But at least the benefit of the doubt is that like non-choice specs Greninja or non-life orb, you could actually switch in on one Dark Pulse, or like take one Dark Pulse and then like T-Wave them back. So yeah, but in terms of the move sets that Slowbro has been running, it has access to Scald, obviously, Slack Off, Teleport. These have been pretty much the three most common moves on Slowbro. Teleport being a very good pivoting move with negative priority to getting your breakers like Hoopa-Unbound and, you know, things like Banded T-Tar, for example. And then the fourth move, Future Sight, Ice Beam. Ice Beam was useful for Zygarde 50 and pretty much was mandatory when Zygarde 50 was legal in the tier, so you could actually pretty much OHKO that with Ice Beam. But nowadays people are just going T-Wave. You don't really need like the secondary move. Like Future Sight is nice with Teleport. Like anyone that played Gen 8 OU in the early days knows how potent Future Port was back in SSOU. But T-Wave is just nice to paralyze, you know, threats that are gonna get in your way. And even like T-Wave is pretty much unstoppable unless you switch in a ground type, but who wants to be switching into a ground type with Slowbro on the field? So yeah, T-Wave is always just a pretty free click most of the time. So yeah, Slowbro has been pretty successful so far, and that's why it managed to make it as the 10th most used Pokemon. Now, coming in at number 11 with a 15.0% win rate, we have Galarian Slowking. Now, this is the first Pokemon I'm going to speak about on this list where I don't really rate them all that well, to be honest. Like, I'm not going to say Glowking is a bad mon, but it's a thing where, like, all of the ones that you realistically want to check just end up beating you. Like your special wall that is vulnerable to Ghost and Dark, which means you're vulnerable to Mega Greninja, you're vulnerable to even something like Gengar, which managed to make OU by usage, which, you know, shout out Gengar, bro. Gengar's my guy. I told people Gengar was him. Like, I'm not gonna say I made Gengar OU, but I'm just saying that who else was speaking about Gengar other than me? Like, that's all I'm on the Discord, at least. Who else was speaking about Gengar? Like, that's what I'm saying. But either way, your special wall that's typing doesn't really do any favors. You especially lose to Aegislash. Like, I don't want to be using a special wall that loses to Aegislash. I'm sorry. And then you also just Hoopa food as well. But the poison typing does come into clutch, because the one time, like, you can actually fit T-Spikes, and I think T-Spikes are probably some of the most underrated moves in the game right now. Not that many people are running grounded poison. Look at the poison types we have in our tier, like at least OU by usage, like Gengar, Glowking, and then the guys in UU here. Like the only other poison type you're going to be seeing is Mega Dragalge. So T-Spikes do go absolutely crazy. Like, I'm not going to lie, that's why I can actually respect Glowking for that, because it's one of the most is the most spammable T-Spike user. But other than that, like your defensive profile, you're not really doing a good job. I'll be honest, your typing leaves you very vulnerable to very common typings, Ghost, Dark, and Ground. I think those are the big three that are really going to fuck you up. they're really just going to mess you up. So, other than that, the fact that I don't really like Glowking's defensive profile as a special wall, like there's just better special walls to be using. Typically the moves, Chilly Reception, Sludge Bomb, here, and then Slack Off. Obviously, if you go Assault Vestige, you're not going to be able to run both of these, or T-Spikes, you'll just go like moves like Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Sludge Wave, Future Sight, for example, on Assault Vest sets. But yeah, this is typically just the Spadef Glowking set here. You could drop T-Spikes. I don't know if you would though. Like that's why I rate T-Spikes so highly. Like T-Spikes are just so nice. You could go Ice Beam to punish Garchomp, assuming that if you get the read right that they're not going to click EQ on you. You could also just go Flamethrower to actually punish steel types like Excadrill staying in, trying to rocks off, or even something like Skarmory. You're always going to be able to 2-KO Skarmory unless it's specially defensive, and then you know, they'll just be spamming Roost, and yeah, you pretty much just win that interaction at all times. And yeah, Glowking, again, other than T-Spikes, I don't really rate it like that, but like I can understand why it was getting some usage. Like the poison typing does come in clutch as a, you know, Floette check. But again, people have showed me replays of Slowking losing to Floette sets. So is it really that good at checking Floette? I don't know. But as a mon that pressures Clefable, I do have to shout out for that. Tyranitar coming in at number 12 with a 13.5% win rate. T-Tar, I think this is the most offensive we've really seen T-Tar since like Gen 6. Like pretty much in Gen 6 OU, T-Tar was literally only running Choice Band. Like fair enough, you could kind of go like a defensive, especially defensive wall in sand, set up Excadrill, have a Troppleberry as well to deal with like fighting types as well. But pretty much T-Tar is locked to Choice Band in this metagame. Like you could go Assault Vest, but I think you're going to get the most mileage out of T-Tar in this metagame with Choice Band. And if you actually look in depth with the usage stats, like if you go on smogon.com/stats, you'll see that Choice Band is probably the most used item. So yeah, it's only because you have Pursuit. Now I think T-Tar would still be a very good mon if Pursuit was not like legal in this metagame, but I think Pursuit really make or breaks this mon, honestly. Like knockoff Pursuit, like especially having knockoff, like T-Tar did not have knockoff in Gen 6, like it only got in Gen 9. So yeah, knockoff has been a very solid move for T-Tar, move that I needed pretty much most of its competitive career, at least once knockoff got buffed in Gen 6. But T-Tar still may do with crunch even on DD sets or Mega T-Tar using crunch as well. So again, knockoff is just a pretty much a good upgrade for it. Gets access to superpower as well, which allows you to punish opposing T-Tar, and superpower is just good coverage in general to get other steel types, and then you just go Stone Edge. This is realistically all you need. Nothing like switching into knockoff, nothing like switching into Stone Edge. Like your dual stabs are very powerful options. So yeah, typically just go max attack, max speed, adamant nature. This actually does outspeed Aegislash, so Aegislash is either forced to run Jolly or you always just end up beating it with Pursuit anyway. But yeah, a lot of people have been telling me that they've been like Pursuit trapping Greninjas that click like U-turn on them and then they just die to Banded Pursuit, which is actually pretty hilarious if you ask me. But yeah, like I'll be honest, yeah, there's a lot of mons that are being held back just because of T-Tar being able to Pursuit trap you. Not limited to Mega Delphox, Gengar, Alakazam. Obviously the mons that are Dark Weak, they're gonna really suffer with T-Tar, you know, in terms of Pursuit. But yeah, T-Tar is also very good because it enables Excadrill Sand Rush sets, which, you know, are quite strong. Obviously, I think Mold Breaker is a bit better, but Sand teams have their place in the metagame just because Drill can double its speed, has access to Swords Dance, and can be a threatening Pokemon. Shame that you don't have the rocks like Smooth Rock in order to extend Sand turns, but you don't really need them, to be honest. Like, even back in tiers like Gen 6, Gen 7, when T-Tar and Drill are being run together, like Smooth Rock isn't even the most common item anyway, because you either want your T-Tar to have leftovers or you want your T-Tar to like potentially be choice banded like an Oras to, you know, Pursuit trap a lot of the Dark Weak Pokemon in the metagame, and the same thing just applies here. So yeah, T-Tar's even stronger than it was in Oras because it has access to knockoff. So yeah, makes sense why T-Tar ends up being the 12th most used Pokemon in the metagame. A mon I wish was higher up in usage, and a mon I feel like is in my top 10 my personal top 10 most used Pokemon, potentially even top 5 to be honest. Hoopa-Unbound coming in at a 12.7% usage rate. Hoopa-Unbound is kind of moving like how it did in Oras. The fact that it's just a mon that is very difficult to switch into at all times, and it's even stronger than it was in Oras because it has access to a move like Psychic Noise, which completely just demolishes balance and stall like no other. And I don't think stall is a good playstyle anyway, but balance is pretty solid, and Hoopa is just a mon that gets the job done on balance very easily. You have access to Psychic Noise and Gunk Shot. Gunk Shot being able to hit Fairy type Pokemon, obviously, like Clefable and Mega Floette. Even though you are weak to Fairy, if you go something like Assault Vest, you're always going to be able to live one hit. And if Clef isn't Fizz Death, you are just going to kill the Clef. And you're also going to kill the Floette guaranteed, because Floette is not that bulky on the physical side. So yeah, knockoff is also very useful. I've seen a lot of people running Dark Pulse as well. I do like knockoff a bit more because, again, knockoff is the freest move in the game, and just getting rid of items is very useful. But yeah, in terms of other than that, it has access to Drain Punch if you want to punish T-Tar. I think being able to punish T-Tar is probably the most important thing Hoopa has going for it, because of the fact that, you know, if you're not going a bulky set, like let's say I was running this for the most time with Hoopa, like max defense with a quiet nature. to boost my special attack stat while still having some decent physical bulk, so I'm not pursuit trap food. A lot of people like staying in with their T-Tar, try to get the pursuit off, and then I just drain punch them and T-Tar dies. So you know, like, it's very good for that. You're also bulk enough to take on Drill and then also 1v1 that. Like, Hoopa's a very good one at trading. If you haven't noticed, like, Hoopa is very good at trading. Like, it takes a hit and it will hit back a lot harder. So it's just one of those ones that are really good progress makers in the metagame, able to demolish like the common defensive calls depending on what moves you want to run. Like, you beat Skarmory if you run T-Bolt, you beat T-Tar and Drill if you run Drain Punch, Gunk Shot beats Fairy types, and you're also just like, your Dark Stab is able to beat things like Aegislash and opposing Dark Weak mons like, you know, Mega Delphox, for example. You're probably one of the best Mega Delphox checks out there. So yeah, Hoopa is a very versatile Pokemon. Also has Choice Scarf sets. And again, like, the moves are just very tough. Like, I'm not showing you defined move slots because it could be anything, to be honest. Like, I've seen special Scarf Hoopa, I've seen physical Scarf Hoopa. Again, when you have 160 attack and 170 special attack, you could pretty much do a lot of things. So yeah, Hoopa being at number 13 doesn't really shock me at all, but I wish it was higher up in usage. Coming in at number 14, we have Mega Starmie. Now, Mega Starmie has been one of the most annoying Pokemon to deal with in this metagame, I'll be completely honest. I really hate it. I hate its impact on the metagame. And I think the only reason like why we tolerate Mega Starmie is because Greninja is legal in this tier. And both Greninja forms are able to outspeed, you know, Mega Starmie. But other than that, I think this one does not have a healthy presence on the builder. I don't know if a lot of people also share my sentiments regarding that, but again, it's just not a cool mon to have. Like, it's a very brainless sort of mon where you kind of just go flip turn, Bolt Beam with T-Bolt Ice Beam, and then you go like either Zen Headbutt or like I hate, like, the one time where I'm just like, oh, let me not run Zen Headbutt. Nah, I face Zen Headbutt. It's just also very annoying in that aspect of, I've seen people run Rapid Spin as well, and when you're a mon with pure power, with pretty much +2 attack at 100 base attack, Rapid Spin is doing a pretty good chunk to, you know, certain things. So yeah, I don't really like Mega Starmie, to be honest. Like, Ice Beam is nice for Gourgeist, but you could easily drop Ice Beam. I think T-Bolt is a lot more useful because T-Bolt targets the water types that resist your dual stab, like the Slow Twins, and you also handle physical walls like what's his name, Skarmory as well. Like, Skarmory does not like taking T-Bolt, and Skarmory also like doesn't hit you that hard. Like, if it's body press, you resist body press. If it's Iron Head, you resist Iron Head. The only thing that Skarmory can actually chip you with is like Brave Bird if it's running Brave Bird. But again, Brave Bird is never guaranteed, and it even sees less use than Iron Head, for example. But yeah, you could obviously just go Rapid Spin here, but I've realized now, like, you don't need Liquidation, you just need Flip Turn, because like, you just Flip Turn on everything, you get like solid chip, and then that's all you really need, to be honest. I was even thinking, do I even need Naive? Because even if you go Timid, not Timid, Jolly Nature, you still have 266 special attack, which in terms of not being able to cut into my Spadef stat, I think that's low-key kind of worth it in my opinion. But again, people have been running Naive, so I don't know. But yeah, Mega Starmie is just very annoying, and it's pretty much only kept in check by like, there's also other stuff like Hisui and Goodra that can obviously handle Starmie's moves like Flip Turn, T-Bolt, Rapid Spin, Zen Headbutt. Your physical move pool is not letting you get past Steel types. So, I mean Dragon Steel types, because like, you know, Goodra resists all of these. But other than Avalanche, of course. But you're not running Avalanche. So yeah, but even then, like, Goodra still is taking a good chunk from Flip Turn. So it's not even a long-term check, especially for a mon that has like no recovery. So yeah, that's why I don't really like Starmie, and realistically is the reason why Mega Gren sees so much play. Like, if you don't face Greninja, Mega Starmie is going to cause you a lot of issues. It will. So yeah, that was just me ranting about Mega Starmie. I don't like the mon. To be honest, I think it's pretty brain dead. But yeah, we were just speaking about Hisui and Goodra as a Starmie check, and yeah, Hisui and Goodra comes in at 9.7% usage. Almost 1 in 10 teams have a Hisui and Goodra, and it kind of makes sense, to be honest, because if you want a, like, this tier is lacking like hard Spadef walls. Like, there's no Blissey, there's no Chansey, you know, and outside of those guys, who are you left to rely on? You have Goodra to rely on. Coming in with the 3rd highest special defense stat in the game, just below Florges and Mega Dragalge. 1 is a Mega Evolution. and one is always competing with Clefable for a team slot, Goodra is pretty much the next best option. So yeah, it's a shame though, because like I'm not even gonna say it's a shame for regular Goodra. Even if Hisuian Goodra wasn't in the game, I don't think anyone would be using base Goodra anyway. But yeah, Hisuian Goodra comes in a bit more clutch because you're a mon with pretty solid bulk in general, 80 HP, pretty good defense at 100, and then obviously a 150 special defense stat. Hisuian Goodra is just able to check a huge chunk of the metagame and some of the strongest special attackers this tier has to offer. Mega Greninja, it checks Mega Dragonite, it checks Mega Delphox to a certain extent, though you're kind of just set up fodder for that anyway. But Dragon Tail is going to do a good chunk to Goodra. Knockoff also does a... No, not Goodra, Delphox. Knockoff also does a good chunk to Goodra. And yeah, look at the most threatening special attackers in this tier, and you'll see that Goodra is able to handle them. Well, maybe not Zardwai, but Zardwai is kind of hard to handle in general anyway. But yeah, typically the moveset, Heavy Slam, I don't think you'll ever really drop in Heavy Slam. I think that was a time I tried to, but again, you need a way to not lose the Fairy types. And even though you're neutral to Fairy at the end of the day, so you never really want Floette to get too many boosts or else you're losing the game. But it's a thing where you could always just spam Heavy Slam. But I think you low-key could even get PP stored out of Heavy Slam. So yeah, that's actually kind of sad. But anyway, Heavy Slam, you have good coverage on the special side. Whether you want to use Fire Blast to punish Skarmory, you have T-Bolt, you have Sludge Wave as well, but you pretty much have Heavy Slam for that anyway. Dragon Tail is good phasing, which is very useful for that. I go Guri because the rest of these abilities are just kind of useless. Like Shell Armor, fair enough, no crit, but again, it's too situational to warrant using it over the other abilities. Sap Sip is okay, but again, Sleep is banned, no Spore, no Sleep Powder. Leech Seed is okay, but again, other grasses, like you're 4x grass resist, you do not need the immunity, and so Gui is pretty much just the next best ability after that. And then in terms of its ability, that Knockoff is also one of the only Pokemon that kept Toxic as a level up move thanks to ZA. So yeah, like you could also go Toxic as well. This mon has a very versatile move pool, and depending on what your team needs, Hisuian Goodra is always gonna get the job done because it's so bulky on the special side and can just handle a lot of Pokemon. But yeah, I do like the Dragon Fire sort of coverage here. You can go Toxic, and it's typically just leftovers. So yeah, with max HP, max special defense, I've always ran like 84 speed because realistically you don't need max special defense to handle some of these mons. Like even if you go like this, for example, typically I like that. This is the problem, like you always have to go speed reduction nature because you never really want to drop Heavy Slam. But I like being faster than Skarm, but at this point Skarm is not running body press, so I don't think this is even necessary anymore anyway. So you can just go relaxed nature. I think you still want to be faster than opposing Clef, so you could actually just go something like this, 184 speed with a sassy nature, and look at that, you still get to 420 special defense. So again, like you don't need max special defense. So yeah, Goodra is just a very fun Pokemon, and you know, it warrants its position as the 15th most used Pokemon. Ooh, how I enjoyed getting to this stage of the video. Number 16 with an 8.4% usage is Mega Greninja. Now, it shocks me that Mega Greninja is so low on usage, but to be fair, there's a lot of new Megas to use, and obviously, like, even using something like Mega Starmie, which sees roughly 3% more usage than Mega Greninja, and it's also the fact that base Greninja is a good mon in general on its own, so it does warrant the team builder to open up to other Mega Evolutions in the current metagame. But yeah, Mega Greninja is the most controversial Pokemon in the metagame right now, and it will continue to do so as long as it stays legal, in my opinion. It's just how it is. Greninja has been nerfed a couple of times in order for it to even still be allowed in this tier. First of all, it had Battle Bond as its ability, which was completely different from how the current Battle Bond works. It would get a, I think it would get a boost, again, it would get a boost every single time instead of once per battle. Its Water Shuriken was also enhanced to a 1 attack with 75 base power. That still had +1 priority, by the way, so, you know, Nasty Plot sets were pretty much impossible to revenge kill reliably. So that was too broken. Then we had it with Technician, and then Water Shuriken was still boosted by Technician because it's 15 base power, which obviously gets boosted by Technician. So that was also very annoying. And now we finally gave it Protein as its mega ability, and yeah, I still think it's fucking broken. Like, realistically, yeah, the council be saying that they're not looking to, you know, have any Tyrann action on Mega Greninja at this current moment in time, and the metagame is still fresh. Now, at this point, I could understand that, but at the same time, 2 weeks with almost 250k games played, that is pretty solid metagame, you know, development in a very short amount of time. No other, not even like OU at the start of, you know, Generation 9. Well, it obviously had more game, but it didn't see that much development in a short amount of time compared to this metagame. And that's because this metagame is a limited decks, even smaller than SV's decks prior to DLCs. And the fact that, you know, like, it's more, the team builder is a lot more interesting in terms of the fact that, how do I explain this? Like, it's more centralized, so it's very easy to adapt, it's easier to adapt to certain things. Mega Greninja is still very difficult to adapt to in terms of the builder, because again, now that it has protein, it basically gets stabbed on everything, even on its first switching. And pretty much any good player that knows how to click correctly is always going to get the most out of their Mega Greninja. Like, whether you click Gunk Shot on the Clef switching in because you're worried about Dark Pulse, you know, on your Aegislash and your Clef dies. Like, why? That it's not really fair. And so many people on the thread have said get rid of Mega Greninja, like, but council says it's okay, so I don't know what to say to that, to be honest. But in terms of what Greninja runs, you know, typically Nasty Plot is also a set, but I feel like Nasty Plot should be reserved for like base Greninja, while Mega Greninja should just utilize the fact that it has a much higher attack stat, so it's able to just, you know, use U-turn. It has Dark Pulse, again, like pretty similar moveset to regular Greninja. You never really want to be dropping Dark Pulse, and then like Ice Beam, again, like you could get away with not running Water Stab, which, yeah, but you always want Gunk Shot, U-turn. It's just a very good pivoting mon, and the reason why it works out so well is because of the fact that Greninja is pretty much like the second fastest mon in the metagame. Like, I'll say Mega Aerodactyl counts, but Mega Beedrill is not a real Pokemon. So yeah, and Mega Aerodactyl is even not OU by usage, as you can see. So Greninja is pretty much the fastest Pokemon in the metagame, and just keeps a lot in check. Could go like this, and yeah, it's just annoying to deal with. I'm sorry to say, it's not a fun Pokemon to use, and it's not a healthy Pokemon in the metagame as well. Like, people are saying like we need Mega Greninja, we don't need this one. Like, I would love to see base Greninja on its own, because that's a more healthier Pokemon. There's still a good amount of mons here that are decent, that outspeed base Greninja, but Mega Greninja being faster than everything, and the fact that, you know, it's just too hard to switch into. I just don't really like it. But yeah, it's shocking to see it so low for how much of an impact it has. But the other ones, again, like something like Garchomp, Skarmory, Drill, like more splashable options that, again, don't take up your mega slots. It kind of makes sense how Greninja made it to this position in the first place. So I think this is a Pokemon I'm going to speak about for the least amount of time, because there's really not much to really say about it. But coming in at number 17 with a 7.9% usage rate is Slurpuff. Now, if you look at the mons that get sticky webs in this metagame, it's pretty much just these two, and Slurpuff is better than Gyarados. I think that's a no-brainer for anyone that has been playing competitive Pokemon for any period of time. But yeah, Slurpuff, pretty much just a suicide lead web setter. There's not really much else to really say about this one. Isn't like, Webs is okay. I don't think Webs is a very consistent playstyle, and obviously the beginning of the metagame, Webs was seeing a pretty good, because like any metagame that comes out day one, everyone's going to be trying to spam their HO options, and Slurpuff was the HO option because we had things like Mega Metagross running around, Mega Blastoise running around, Mega Lucario even running around. So, you know, having webs for mons like that don't have the highest of speed tiers, very useful. That's what I can say, very useful. So yeah, typically this is the Slurpuff set that I like to run: Magic Coat, Endeavor, Misty Explosion. This is all you really need. And typically, like, just look up the Gen 8 Uber set for Slurpuff, and this is pretty much what it does. 0 HP IV, 0 HP defense IV, 0 spread F IVs. So yeah, make it as frail as possible so you can go down to Sash as soon as possible. You have Magic Hook to bounce back hazards and taunt and so on. You have Endeavor to when you're at 1 HP. You have Unburden and you outspeed, and then that happens. And then Misty Explosion is like is a decently strong move. Like, it's not that crazy. 100 base power coming off of 85 special attack is not that crazy, but you know, it gets the job done. So yeah, this is pretty much all Slurpuff offers to the metagame. But you know, Webs is still decent, and if you do want to use that playstyle, Slurpuff is pretty much your only option. I've already spoken about in my tier list how Gyarados is a shitter, so you're not using it to set up Webs. The goodest of boys, Zydog, aka Zygarde 10%, coming in at 7.5% usage at 18th place in the metagame. Zygarde 10 pretty much took the mantle off of Zygarde 50 once we decided to ban that garbage, and to be fair, it needed to go. But yeah, Zygarde 10 is pretty much relegated to the choice band set with 1,000 arrows. I was going to click on the 1,000 waves. That is a very cool move though, I'm not going to lie. E-speed, Outrage, and Iron Head. Now, before you used to run Toxic in the 4th slot, but now you pretty much can't do that because Toxic got cut distribution to only Pokemon that knew it by level up. So yeah, this is pretty much what Zydog does. You could go Adamant to replicate the damage of Zygarde 50, because Zygarde 50 could afford the Adamant nature, but it's a lot tougher to justify Adamant on Zydog because of the fact that this is one of the few Mega Evolutions that has above 110 speed. So, you know, cucking your speed to be slower than pretty much all of these guys, even going down to base 100s even. Like, being slower than all of these just for replicating the same power might be worth to you, but I don't know. I'll typically just run Jolly because I don't want to be slower than, like, Mega Dansey, for example. That's pretty fucking sad. But you do see a notable drop in damage, for example. Like, I don't even, this gets, you still get above 400 attack, but if you get to 328, you get to like almost 500 attack. You get to like 492 attack after a choice band versus like Jolly Zydog getting to around 448. So there's a decently like notable lack of damage, which I feel like a lot of people, obviously they want their Zydog to be hitting as hard as possible, but in terms of just 1,000 arrows being the most spammable move in the game, even like neutral targets like Frailer offensive threats don't like switching into Zydog anyway. So it's a thing where this one kind of just gets away with spamming 1,000 arrows for the whole game, and yeah, there's not much you can really do about it. But yeah, Zydog is a pretty solid Pokemon in this metagame. Not the most flashiest one compared to like its 50% form, but it gets the job done just because 1,000 arrows is a very funny move. All the Alakazam haters, you all get fucked. All the Alakazam haters. And people are like, this one is not good, this one's not good. Now, I'll tell you now, it's not that crazy, but you can understand why you see some play. Now, Alakazam comes in at number 19 on our list with a 7.4% usage rate. Alakazam, again, speed tiers outside of Megas are scuffed. And this is a non-Mega Pokemon with 120 speed. So you can see why I actually respect Alakazam. You know, you might think it's Pursuit Trap bait, which it is for T-Tar, but at the same time, do you really want to risk Focus Blast landing? Especially for T-Tars that aren't running bulk. I don't know if Focus Blast actually kills T-Tar under sand with like 0 HP, 0 special defense. But you're taking a lot of damage, and even then, you have Sash Counter to counteract T-Tar. So it's a thing where Alakazam can actually throw, like, could actually reverse beat T-Tar on that it should actually beat, because you're not going to swap out, you're going to counter on them even clicking the attack, because if you're choice banded, you're going to be using an attack, which is going to be a physical attack, and you can counter that back and kill the T-Tar. So yeah, I like Alakazam in the metagame. It has a decent place, to be honest. You either go Psyshock or Psychic. I think Psychic is a bit better. You have Focus Blast, and then you have Shadow Ball to hit opposing ghost types. Now, obviously, Focus Blast could be Dazzling Gleam. Both of them have the ability of hitting dark types, or even Signal Beam if you really want to hit Hoopa. But yeah, this is pretty much all Alakazam is relegated to. As much as Life Orb would be hella cool, you are just Pursuit Trap bait, so I'd rather not have to deal with that. And you know, Counter is just one of the funniest moves in the game. So yeah. And like, you have to respect Alakazam can actually still hit decently hard. Like, this is a model with 135 special attack. Look at the special attacks. Outside of Mega Evolutions, Alakazam is sitting right here. So yeah, I think a lot of people should stop underrating this one. It's kind of hard to slot at times, but at the same time, like, it's a pretty good anti-HO sort of tool as well, even on HO. Like, HO likes Alakazam because you have a mon that's always going to be able to take one hit at any point during the game. So yeah, Alakazam coming at number 19 does not shock me at all. I also mentioned in my tier list video that a lot of mons, or even in my general thoughts video, I mentioned a lot that a lot of mons that haven't been able to shine in standard play in a long time have been able to shine out in this metagame, and Krookodile is definitely one of them. Coming in at number 20 with a 7.2% usage rate. Krookodile, again, like I said with T-Tar, Pursuit is very far and few between. Like, some of these guys can Pursuit. Like, someone said Pursuit Aegislash, which is hella troll, but, you know, Scizor can kind of fit it sometimes, but the rest of these UU guys, most of the time, are not worth using anyway, even outside of Pursuit Trapping anyway. So, realistically, the only two Pursuit Trappers in the OU metagame are T-Tar and Krookodile. And Krookodile, I expected it to have a bit more usage. I'm surprised Alakazam has more usage than Krookodile and even something like Slurpuff, but the HO merchants made Slurpuff's usage a lot higher. But Krookodile is a pretty solid part of the metagame, I'm not going to lie. For the fact that it's sitting at the 20th spot is actually pretty shocking to me, because it's actually so good at what it does. Now, Krookodile typically had Knockoff, Pursuit, Stealth Rock, and Earthquake. Now, this is notably missing CC, but you don't actually need CC on a set like this. This is pretty much a bulky Crook with access to Intimidate. And, you know, you see the bulk and you're like, Crook is actually not that bulky in terms of stat-wise. But obviously, if you invest in some defense, you add some attack to, you know, reach some calculations. Krookodile with Intimidate is very, very bulky. It also has access to Choice Scarf sets, which I think are pretty nice in general. I think Intimidate is still useful for those sort of sets, but yeah, you'll just swap out rocks for CC, for example, go max attack, max speed with a Jolly Nature. And yeah, this is pretty much what Crook is able to do. And yeah, it's very versatile what it does. Like, it's a more, I don't know, it's an easier Pursuit Trapper to use than T-Tar, just because you're faster than T-Tar by quite a bit. Like, base 92 speed is quite solid. You're also faster than things like Aegislash, Goodra-Hisui. Well, T-Tar's faster than them anyway. But it's a thing where you're faster than something like Hoopa, for example. You can Pursuit Trap Hoopa. You can Revenge Kill that very easily if it's not running any, like, physical defense. And yeah, I like Krookodile quite a bit. Like, it actually gets the job done. But I think the most useful Krookodile sets are like Boots or Leftovers, Intimidate, like sort of a bulky Krookodile set, because you kind of want this thing to be taking some hits. It's a good go switching. Like, you can actually check Aegislash quite well. CC is going to be bouncing off if it's at -1. So yeah, I think Krookodile's ability to check something like Aegislash quite well, check Drill decently well as well. Yeah, Krookodile deserves its flowers, honestly. This is the first time in a very long time Krookodile has seen any sort of OU viability, regardless of what the OU is. Not trailing too far behind its, you know, psychic, you know, brethren. Well, I say brethren, Gengar's not a psychic type, but you know what I mean. Gengar and Alakazam are two different peas of the same pod. But coming at 21st place with a 7.25% usage. Krookodile had 7.28. I probably should have specified that to 2 decimal places. But yeah, so yeah, Gengar. So I wish Gengar had Levitate. That would be nice. But at least this is one of the few poison types that are grounded, so you can actually like stop the T-Spike. Well, I really do need to build a Glow King T-Spike team. I really want to see how that goes. But yeah, Gengar also has access to T-Spike. But to be fair, Gengar's just is a decent utility mon, I'll be honest. Like, you're not really using Gengar too offensively, and I do think like ghost types right now, we're kind of in a demand for them. Like, sure enough, we have Aegislash spamming Shadow Ball, but we don't have like something like Polt, for example. Like, Gengar is somewhat like the Polt of this meta game, and like, I'm not gonna say like it does the job as well as Polt. Again, like, Polt has 142 speed, Gengar is stuck at the ever most competitive 110 speed tier. So you know, there's a lot of mons that, you know, you're risking speed ties against that you could realistically beat, like Mega Gallade, Mega Diancie. What else is you know, occupying that 110 speed tier? Even something like Mega Skarmory, like, you could actually kind of revenge kill that if that's chipped, or even like Self a Destiny Bond, which I was going to show you guys right now. In terms of the Gengars that I always run, is always Sludge Wave, Focus Blast, Destiny Bond. Now, if I'm feeling unlucky against the T-Tar with like Life Orb, I'm clicking Destiny Bond. If I'm against the Drill and I don't want to land Focus Blast, I'm clicking Destiny Bond. It's so good at just getting the kill. So if I see a Hoopa in general, I'm clicking Destiny Bond. This is why I like Gengar a lot. I rep both Alakazam and Gengar because they're not the most standout mons, and they do have very noticeable flaws, such as being pursuit trapped and, you know, not having any bulk to their name. But, you know, like, the fact that they can just trade 1-to-1 with so many mons, like Alakazam with counter, or Gengar getting a 1-for-1 kill with Destiny Bond, that's something I really rate in this metagame, where, you know, it seems like offense and you can't really end up checking a lot of things that you can't check everything with one team. So having mons like this that can just take out key mons that you need to be taken out, I actually rate them quite highly. So yeah, Gengar's a fun mon to use and still has a pretty solid damage output even in this metagame. Like, both its stabs are very dangerous to switch into. You beat Slowbro, you beat Clef. You know, again, Destiny Bond can take out a lot of the mons that end up beating you, like the dark types. So yeah, Gengar is a really fun mon to use. Alright, coming at number 22, we got Umbreon with a 7.1% usage rate. Now, Umbreon is one of the few Pokemon that managed to keep Toxic in Legends ZA. We actually look at the Pokemon that have Toxic available. A lot of these guys are either really bad, as you know, you see Watchog and Galarian Stunfisk, for example, or they're Umbreon, or you know, anyone that's in OU by usage here. But yeah, Umbreon having Toxic is very useful for it, and they also gain Knockoff. I think that's also a very useful thing that Umbreon gained. And then this is typically the set that it runs. It runs Toxic, Wish Protect, Knockoff. Typically, I mean, in the past it used to be Foul Play. But I think Knockoff has more utility now, though I don't think there's any issue with running Foul Play either. Like, Foul Play would actually unironically check a lot of SD threats like SD Chomp, because Umbreon is still bulky even without Fizz Def investment. So it's a thing where, you know, like, Foul Play would actually catch out setup sweepers like Garchomp, Excadrill, Dragonite, for example. But Spadef is more useful because obviously it's the highest stat that Umbreon has. And then there's also things like Mega Delphox and, you know, Greninja running around, which Umbreon is able to check them quite reliably, in my opinion. Like, +2 Fire Blast will still do a good chunk to Umbreon, but Umbreon is so bulky, like, you're still going to be able to overall 1v1 it, especially if you, like, Toxic Wish stall it out. And, yeah, Umbreon is just a pretty good mon to have on, like, sort of balance structures as well. Because, again, having a mon that can spam Toxic is very good. Like, Clerics are still around, but they're only on specific playstyles, and like even some of the clerics, like whether that's Aromatherapy or Heal Bell mons, a lot of these Pokemon also aren't really slotting them unless they're like evolution. Like Clef has Aromatherapy, doesn't really run it. Florges doesn't really see enough usage. You know what else? Even like the grass types using Aromatherapy, like Roserade, mon like that doesn't really see any play either. So yeah, Umbreon is pretty much free to just click Toxic on most of the tier that aren't steel types, obviously, and then like just click Knockoff as well. Only thing holding it back is obviously fairy type usage, but that's really the only thing that's stopping Umbreon. Everything else kind of is just toxic food, particularly Unaware Clef. Like if you're facing Unaware Clef, Toxic that, and yeah, that one's dead. So yeah, Umbreon is a very fun Pokemon to use. That is also one of my favorite evolutions. I think in terms of evolutions, actually, Glaceon's on top, obviously. Glaceon's my favorite. I think Leafeon is second, and then Umbreon's like third. So, you know, shout out Umbreon, man. That's my guy. That's my guy. So it's interesting to see Mega Delphox come in at number 23 with a 6.9 usage rate. Because at the same time, Mega Delphox is one of the strongest new Megas to come out of Legends ZA. And it's definitely a Pokemon that if we dropped into like Gen 9 right now, this one would be a menace to society. But at the same time, we gave it Levitate, which is a pretty solid ability, mind you. Like having a ground immunity is very good. You low-key just wall Excadrill if it's not running Rock Slide on like Sand Rush sets, or even like something like Mega Horn. But you know, the drill is not running Mega Horn. If you're running Mega Horn, fair play to unit, but yeah, that's not my portion. But at the same time, that also beats Wait, that doesn't even beat Chesnaught. Chesnaught is neutral to Bug. Regardless. Anyway, so yeah, Mega Delphox is one of the strongest Mega Evolutions. Let's not get that twisted. It's also one of the fastest Pokemon in the metagame, coming in at 134 speed. So why does it only see a 6% usage? Not even breaking 1 in 10 teams on the ladder. Why is Mega Delphox so low on usage? Now, it comes down to a few things that unfortunately lets Mega Delphox down. The first thing is Greninja, particularly the Mega kind. Being the only common Pokemon that's faster than Mega Delphox, and I guess Mega Lopunny, but surprisingly that did not get enough usage to become OU, so, you know, keep that as you will. Greninja being being a few points faster than Mega Delphox really holds it back, because obviously you resist both of Delphox's dual stabs, even despite the fact that you have access to Focus Blast. Greninja before obviously had Protein was still clicking Technician Flip Turn, which would absolutely OHKO Mega Delphox. So it was very hard to justify using Mega Delphox when Mega Greninja was running around and was on a good chunk of teams. Second of all is the fact that T-Tar is a very common Pokemon, and obviously you have to risk Focus Blast to land, you know, to actually beat T-Tar. But if you're not at +2 with Nasty Plot, then that means T-Tar is going to beat you a good chunk of the time if Focus Blast accuracy is not like on your side and you're pursuit trapped. So there's also that. Drill also having, well, like I said, Levitate, so Drill's not really a check, but you know, like there was just also a lot of things that got in its way, like Scarfer's got in its way. It's also not that bulky on the physical side, and yeah, like it just really sucks. I think the most important thing is Mega Greninja being everywhere and T-Tar pursuit trapping it, as well as Krookodile also Pursuit Trapping, and particularly if it's a Choice Scarf Crook variant, or where you're just going to click Knockoff or Pursuit. So yeah, there's just a lot that got in Mega Delphox's way, despite the insane stats, despite the damage output that this mon is able to output with Psy Shock plus Fire Blast but as Sab, in addition to Grass Knot as coverage or Focus Blast. But I think you really need Focus Blast, or T-Tar's always going to beat you. But yeah, even with this, this means that Slowbro and Slowking can wall you as well. So there's always something getting in the way of Mega Delphox, and yeah, it's just tough to really justify using this mon. Even Spadef Clefable, almost 2-hit killed by Psy Shock, by the way. But you know, you just T-Wave that, and then once you have a T-Wave Mega Delphox, the mon's useless. So yeah, it's really hard to justify. But outside of those circumstances, I feel like if Mega Gren wasn't here, Mega Delphox would really shine. But yeah, everything else kind of just holds back the mon in general. But either way, it's still a very powerful Pokemon, and it just requires a bit more effort for you to actually maximize its capabilities. Because again, a mon with this stat spread should never be bad. This mon with the stat spread should never really be like, this is a liability in the builder. But yeah, it's just the metagame is not particularly too kind to Mega Delphox right now. If you guys thought the Oras OU comparisons were even more apt, then we have Talonflame with a 6.6% usage rate, coming in at 24th place. Yeah, Talonflame seen more usage than the likes of Mega Lopunny. Who would have thought, guys? Who would have thought? But yeah, Talonflame, obviously back in Gen 6 I had access to Gale Wings, which was unnerfed and basically worked at any percentage of HP. But now that, since, you know, 10 years ago almost 10 years ago when Gale Wings got nerfed in Sun and Moon, and Talonflame went down the tiering rung to where it currently is in, I don't even know what tier Talonflame's in now. But either way, Heavy Duty Boots again is a very good thing for this Pokemon to have, because you know, it's a 4x rock weak Pokemon. So yeah, Gale Wings, you know, we've accepted Gale Wings is never going to be the same as it was in Oras. But what does Talonflame offer to the table? Because other than, you know, average stats, other than its speed tier, which is speed tier really comes with the clutch in this metagame, and is the whole reason why I ceased play in the first place. But yeah, what does Talonflame offer to the table? Now, it's a defogger, and like I said, the defog stocks are pretty low, but where Talonflame's defensive typing actually comes into play quite a decent bit, despite the fact that it has a water weakness, and obviously like its rock weakness doesn't really matter when you're running boots. But Fire Flying kind of makes it a mini Moltres. Now, Moltres was in this metagame. I can't lie, we might be saved. We could have been like the legendary birds, particularly Zapdos and Moltres. I think they would save this metagame quite well, to be honest. But Articuno, on the other hand, I don't know. Maybe Articuno could see some play. It's actually kind of bulky and isn't weak to like ice. It's not weak to water, so you know, could actually be a decent Gren check. But you know, regardless, Talonflame is a pretty much mini Moltres. Like, it has access to Wisp, it has Roost, it has U-Turn, Brave Bird. It's just a pretty good utility one, and I think that due to the fact that Talonflame just ends up being faster than a good chunk of things, is able to check a good chunk of the metagame. Like, having a fast Pokemon that can burn things, particularly something that's faster than Starmie, because all you'll need is like, what do you call it? 208 speed, and you outspeed Mega Starmie. That means you can Will-O-Wisp it, and you might die in the process, but you know, you died for the cause. You died for the cause. Like, having a burn Mega Starmie means you could actually just wall it efficiently with like Slowbro with some special defense investment, so you don't get blown up by T-Bolt. You also, Gourgeist also handles it a lot better as long as it's not Ice Beam. Still a very annoying Pokemon to deal with, I'm not gonna cap. But yeah, Talonflame just being able to spread burns, fast burns, being able to threaten a lot of the physical attackers, does warrant some usage, and it has gotten enough usage across 250k games to beat OU by usage. Will it fall off at any point? Like, let's say we have a whole month of November, 30 days of this metagame being played, to see if Talonflame can keep up, because again, it's in the lower half of usage. Like, I have 34 Pokemon I'm counting here in terms of that count as OU by usage, and Talonflame is coming in at 24. So will it keep up with the usage? We'll see. But I think it's in a decent spot personally, just because it's a defogger and spreads fast burns. So yeah, that's all Talonflame is really offering to the table, but it's good enough for what it's currently doing right now. Never have I been so annoyed by a new Mega Evolution that wasn't Mega Greninja. Mega Skarmory is low-key just like imagine Mega Aerodactyl if it actually did damage. This is Mega Skarmory. Now, you're sacrificing obviously 40 points in speed, but it's completely worth it because before you Mega Evolve anyway, Skarmory gets weak armor, and if you proc the weak armor, you're faster than Mega Aerodactyl anyway while hitting a lot harder. Now, the reason why Mega Skarmory just clears Mega Aerodactyl and Mega Aerodactyl is kind of being power crept to infinity now is because while Mega Aerodactyl does have access to Home Claws and Dragon Dance as setup sets, Skarmory can actually just double his attack stat with Swords Dance anyway. You have 5 higher attack, and despite the fact that you have Tough Claws, like Drill Peck plus like the coverage that you get, Drill Run is also a contact move, so that means that you're able to just really threaten things, and all you need is just like this and you're very threatening Pokemon. So yeah, Mega Skarmory, one of the most underrated Megas in the metagame right now. It does have a 6.5% usage rate at 25th place in the metagame, but obviously you're giving up on base Skarmory, which again is 4th in usage. So, you know, like you can see why Mega Skarmory is so low on this list, because you kind of need to use base Skarmory sometimes, and obviously if you're using Mega, you can't use the really good defensive properties of base Skarmory. But even then, base Mega Skarmory is bulk. Like, I tried to revenge kill this thing with like a Lifeful Greninja and like 100 special defense. This mon is actually kind of hard to take out, I'll be honest. So in terms of EVs, obviously you'd probably want to try like this with no speed. Obviously outruns, like at +2 outruns a good majority of Scarfers, but I think you need a bit more speed. Say you wanted to outspeed Scarf Gren, which I think gets to around 565 speed, you'll need about 200 and I think you need like 285 at least. This at least outspeeds base 80s, like Hoopa-Unbound and other stuff. Like, this is still a relatively fast Pokemon, but like you're pretty much relying on weak armor proccing. Again, this is a 110 speed Pokemon, and I know a lot of people are just gonna go max attack, max speed, but like again, if you want to like really hope weak armor procs, this is probably the best EV spread you can get to that. You get a good amount of bulk in HP, you manage to go adamant with like this thing does like 80% to Slowbro, and you can low-key one-shot Slowbro if you go Brave Bird. But Drill Peck obviously has no recoil, which is why a lot of people prefer it over Brave Bird. But if you want to go maximum power, Brave Bird is right there for you. But yeah, Skarm is definitely one of the most scariest wall breakers in the current metagame, but obviously due to the fact that his base form is so good, it sees a lot less usage. Also, another Pokemon I mentioned in my general thoughts video, Gourgeist Super, coming in at 6.3% usage at 26th place in the metagame. Like I mentioned in that video, this tier is lacking a lot of the traditional defensive grass types that you know, standard play metagames I've seen in old gens. There's no Tangrowth, there's no Ferrothorn, there's no Serperior, there's not even anything like what else is, I'm really just going through the list here, Bulu, Rillaboom. But yeah, mainly the defensive grasses of the generations have mainly been Ferrothorn, Tangrowth. Even something like Sinistral would be quite nice right now, but yeah, we're kind of lacking those guys. So Gourgeist has, you know, stepped up to the plate and said to the tier, guys, I am here. I am a defensive grass type with a pretty high defense stat of 122. Like, Gourgeist is sitting right here. That's the same defense stat as Chesnaught. So, you know, it's sitting right here, saying to the world, yeah, I am here to defend you guys from the ground types. I'm here to defend you guys from the physical water types. Well, I'm actually deep in the physical water types, still kind of just beat Gourgeist anyway, e.g. Mega Gyarados. But, you know, like, you're mainly using the defensive grass type because of the key resistance to ground. Grass obviously has another key resistance to electric, but the electric types aren't that common anymore. Like, you'll see Mega Electros from time to time, but even that's someone that beats Gourgeist due to the fact that Flamethrower is just gonna OHKO you. But either way, yeah, being able to check Garchomp, being able to check Excadrill, you can somewhat check Dragonite as long as they're not running dual Wing Beat. I've seen some of those guys. You are heinous individuals. But even Gourgeist at plus, like, is taking dual Wing Beat at +1. So, you know, that just goes to show how bulky it is. And it's just nice to see Gourgeist being able to shine. Again, this is like one of the coolest Pokemon out of Generation 6 just due to its mechanics of having 4 different forms you can use. But obviously Super sees a lot more use because, again, it's the bulkiest one out of all of them because it has the highest HP stat. So yeah, Gourgeist, well, wrong Gourgeist, my bad. Bigger Gourgeist, Super Gourgeist. So yeah, typically what you want to run on Gourgeist, I feel like I should be speaking about like what these ones are actually running as well as explaining the metagame relevance. Will-O-Wisp, Poltergeist, Power Whip, and Synthesis. This is pretty much what Gourgeist is running most of the time with max defense. Not really anything else you can run. I guess you can drop Power Whip for Leech Seed and still run Poltergeist, since that's a non-contact move, so you can actually still punish things like Garchomp without losing most of your HP. But obviously, if you're using knockoff Pokemon, Poltergeist is going to fail. So yeah, there's also Foul Play as a potential move. I liked Foul Play because, again, like with Umbreon, that could beat setup sweepers, but Umbreon is running knockoff now, so it's a bit hard to fit that. But yeah, Foul Play is definitely a potential option over Poltergeist as well. But at that point, if you're going Foul Play, you probably need Power Whip anyway, so you could actually punish things like what do you call it, Excadrill as well. But yeah, in terms of abilities, Insomnia is useless because Sleep is banned and Pickup is Pickup, so you know you're not running that. So Frisk is useful. Frisk is good to find out what Pokemon are mega stoned or not. What again, Frisk in open team sheets and VGC, most useless ability of all time. In singles, where you don't know what your opponent is running, Frisk is a situational yet not a useless ability. So yeah, in terms of item leftovers or heavy duty boots, and this is pretty much what Gourgeist Super is doing in the metagame. Now, here's another really annoying Pokemon to face when you're not prepared to face it. Gyarados coming at 6.2% win rate, 27th place in the metagame. I think Gyarados' usage is going to keep getting higher and higher by the fact that I can't even speak English. By the time December comes and we get the November stats, I think Gyarados is going to be a lot higher usage than it is now. I would arguably say Gyarados could make it on 1 out of 10 teams, to be honest, just because it's that annoying. Now, what Gyarados is able to do, which a lot of people have been running now, is the T-Wave Waterfall set. Now, Gyarados, if you don't remember, is the reason why Lavos crashed out, and we got that infamous copy pasta about joy distilled from attachment for the reason why he was quitting Pokemon. And yeah, Gyarados is a very annoying Pokemon. It's not even DD sets that are annoying people. It's pretty much just like T-Wave, Waterfall, Rest, and EQ. This is pretty much all Gyarados is doing now. And in terms of a flying type, Gyarados has never really operated as a flying type. It doesn't get any flying moves. It literally just utilizes the defensive properties of flying more than its offensive attributes. So, like, in terms of D-Dance, just leave that to Mega Gyarados. That's the GOAT, which we'll be speaking about later. But yeah, like, obviously, both Megas and non-Megas are, you know, usage are tiered differently in terms of usage. So, you know, all of the Megas that I haven't mentioned for things like Clefable, Excadrill will be towards the end of the video. But wait for that part. But yeah, typically it was pretty much just running max defense or max special defense with this. And yeah, this is a very annoying Pokemon to deal with, because I feel like this is the best Pokemon at spreading paralysis in the metagame. Like, the typing is pretty solid, I'll be honest. You only have 2 weaknesses to Rock and Electric, and you know, you can deal with Electrics quite easily in this metagame, mind you. And Rock types, we don't really have much of them, I'll be honest. We don't have much of them, and obviously Heavy Duty Boots stops you from you know, taking Stealth Rock damage. But yeah, Gyarados is quite bulky, especially if you invest fully in special defense. You know, you can actually take a Gren hit quite comfortably, especially like if it goes for Gunk Shot as well. Intimidate being dropping, and even though you only have 79 base defense, this is still good enough with your high HP and Intimidate dropping the attack stat. So yeah, you pretty much just T-Wave everything in the tier that isn't a ground type, which you beat, by the way, because you're water type. And then you even can just start flinching things with Waterfall due to para flinching. So yeah, one of the most annoying Pokemon to deal with. Oh god, I fucking hate facing Gyarados, but it's a very solid Pokemon which will definitely be rising up in usage. And I think things like Slurpuff are going to fall off in usage, and Gyarados is simply just going to keep rising and rising, because I think a lot of people have realized how good this thing is at just like being a decent special wall while just spreading paralysis and, you know, slowing down the metagame significantly to support its teammates. So Meowstic came in at number 28 and 29 respectively, but since they're tiered the same, because I'm pretty sure they have the same stats, but they just have 2 different abilities, so that's why they're tiered. Well, the only difference is that one has Prankster and one has Competitive. You can guess which one saw the most use. So yeah, this is taking up the 28 and 29 slot, but I'll just say that Meowstic comes in at 28, and then the mon after Meowstic is 29. But either way, yeah, so male Meowstic, unfortunately not this one. This one, you know, is another HO merchant because they just decided to give this thing every single hazard in the game for some reason. It now has access to both Stealth Rock spikes and Toxic spikes. Now, are you fitting all of these on at the same time? No, not really, because unless you really just want to go taunt 3 hazards as a suicide lead, fair enough, but typically no one's really running T-Spikes, so you know you could actually fit like an attacking move like Psychic Noise, Psychic Side Shock, and so on. And then like since you're Prankster, you can actually afford to go some defensive bulk rather than maxing out your speed. Like this is basically Deoxys speed of the ZA metagame, except you have Prankster, so you don't actually have to invest in any of your speed. So yeah, Meowstic is pretty much all Meowstic does. Outside of that, if you're not going the suicide lead sets, this is going to be your ideal screen mon, due to the fact that even though there's no light clay, and thank god there's no light clay, 8 turns of screens in this metagame, god forbid, you know, this mon is still able to just taunt a lot of things thanks to Prankster, stop rocks getting up. Like, it's a decent mon, and for once again, something like Meowstic, this mon has never even been good in PU. So, you know, like, maybe it was good in Gen 6, I don't recall, but when I started playing PU in Gen 7, this mon did not exist. So, yeah. Like, this is all it's capable of doing, either being a rock suicide lead or setting up screens. That's all Meowstic offers to the table. This next Pokemon, though, will definitely be rising up more and more as the usage goes up. Coming in at 29th place with a 5.5% usage rate, Mega Floette, with its custom ability called Ange. And what Ange does is basically heal Floette for a 12 of its HP at the end of every single turn. And if you are up against any Mega Pokemon, they lose 10% of their HP every turn as long as they're in on Mega Floette. Now, the Mega Evolution thing doesn't really matter. What matters is the 12 HP healing, which, you know, is a bit more than leftovers. It's roughly around 8% healing, which, you know, isn't as crazy as like Poison Heal, for example. And to be honest, if it was like Poison Heal, god forbid. But yeah, Mega Floette typically is running this set of Substitute, Calm Mind, Protect, and you know, Moonblast. Now, if this seems pretty similar to you, it's Vinkun, basically. This is what Suicune used to run in a lot of the old gens, whether it was sub CM Scald Ice Beam, but there was a mono Scald attacking Suicune in Gen 5 with sub CM Protect and Scald. Also, it was running that in Gen 6 UU, I believe, and even saw some using Oras OU if you decided to use Suicune in that too. But yeah, this is typically what it does. In terms of the spread, I think people are going like max HP, modest nature like this with, or maybe just 248 HP, so you get like even healing, and then you get to 382 special attack. Now, you don't really need to invest in the special attack. Again, 155. Look at the special attack stats of everything here. These are all reserved for Megas or just Hoopa, because Hoopa is that guy. But you know, Mega Floette is coming in with a very high special attack stat, and so you don't need any investment. Now, in terms of this outspeeds Drill, so you don't have to worry about being stored in Excadrill and being revenge killed. If you have enough boost, you end up like obviously 2-hit killing Excadrill after a certain amount of boosts, and if you're behind the sub, you basically just beat Drill 1v1. And yeah, the role of this, make sure the steel types are dead, and yeah, you just start winning the game basically. Particularly if you are using Magic Guard Clefable. Again, like I said, Unaware is such a huge stopgap for setup sweepers, so like if you're not running it, you're gonna have to be very careful around Mega Floette. This mon has soloed many a game, and I've lost to this mon several times just because it's this annoying. But yeah, if you're really deep in it, yeah, modest nature with 8 special attack EVs gets to 382. This hits as hard as a 125 special attack mon with maximum investment with a modest nature. So that just goes to show how strong this mon is without any investment. So yeah, Mega Floette, as the month goes on, this mon will be being used a lot more. It's one of the best megas in the tier by far. And obviously, I feel like it started picking up a lot more in usage once people realized, yeah, this one is actually low-key broken and like it is actually pretty strong. So yeah, it will rise up in usage. We're almost done with this video. If you guys are still sticking around, thanks for watching. Again, timestamps will be down below, so if you guys want to hear me speak about specific Pokemon, I will let you guys get to that section, and if you want to go away, that's perfectly fine. But I want to thank everyone that has watched this video from 00 to however long this video will be. It's going to be quite a long one. But yeah, Chesnaught coming in at number 30 with a 5.1% usage. Now, Chesnaught, I feel like once you get past the 30 mark, the rest of these guys are kind of like on the niche side. Well, not really niche, but I think Chesnaught, out of the next few months we're going to be speaking about, is the most niche because of the fact that it's kind of competing with Gourgeist as a defensive grass type. I think grass fighting is a lot less useful than grass ghost, just because you can actually spin block Excadrill, which works on hazard stacking teams. Imagine like you have like Garchomp, Gourgeist-XL. You're not getting off hazards unless you have a defog. I'm sorry, like Drill is not spinning. Drill is not spinning. You go boots Gourgeist is never spinning. But you know, Chesnaught comes in with like a fairy weakness. You have a 4x flying weakness. You're also weak to psychic, which Gourgeist isn't weak to psychic, and you can also threaten psychic types with poltergeist. So your typing is just a lot worse defensively, and I think the fairy weakness really lets you down because you're just letting Clef every single time. And you know, even something like Mega Floette, you let that mon in every single time. So it's a shame for Chesnaught, but that's just how it is, you know. But yeah, in terms of what Chesnaught is capable of running, it's pretty much a Spikes Body Press Synthesis Spiky Shield, which is what I've seen. I think it also gets Roar as well for phasing, which can actually end up being quite good in the favor of checking settle sweepers like Dragon Dance Dragonite, assuming it's not dual wing beat, SD Garchomp, because you'll actually survive Fire Blast. Like you're slightly specially more bulky than Gourgeist just because you have 3 higher HP in terms of base stats. You have the same special defense stat, but you also have the same defense stat as well. Like you're negligibly more bulkier than a Gourgeist-XL while having a worse defensive typing. So obviously, like there isn't much appeal to using Chesnaught in my opinion. I feel like Chesnaught was an early metagame symptom. I feel like it's definitely not going to stay OU by the end of the month, just because I feel like Gourgeist is still just a better defensive grass type. People are obviously testing out Mega Chesnaught, of course, but you know, like again, that's somewhat a waste of a Mega slot. They kind of operate the same, in my opinion. But yeah, this is all Chesnaught was really offering to the table. I saw some people running SD or Chesnaught, like, but like, you want to be using SD Chesnaught? Like, again, it was probably some low ladder shit in like the 1200s, but you know, I still saw it anyway. People are experimenting, which I don't, I'm not gonna knock them down for that. But again, don't be using SD Chesnaught. The only thing that this mon is worth using for is the Fizz Def set. Alright, coming at number 31 with a 5.04% usage rate, Mega Dragonite. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there's been too many times where this thing sets up an agility late game, has pretty much the most annoying coverage in the world, maybe slot Air Slash somewhere or Hurricane, and then it just starts sweeping because Soul Heart keeps boosting its special attack stat. Now Soul Heart is probably the most annoying ability for this, and it kind of like, it's not broken by any means, but it's just very annoying to deal with in the late game because you can actually just afford Modest Nature. Like 299, you're outspeeding pretty much every Scarf in the game after an agility. You get to 427 special attack, and at +1, what's switching in? Late game, what's switching in? You pretty much have perfect coverage with this. Like obviously you're not, like, you wouldn't want Draco Meteor on this, I'll be honest. You don't need Draco, but like, as much as I'd love to fit Flying Stab, you don't need it. You actually don't need it. This is the most annoying mon to deal with in the late game, because every single Mega Dragonite player, this is what they do. They wait until the late game, make sure hazards aren't like up, so multi-scale is still intact, set up a free agility pre-mega, mega evolve, because like the moment I see agility, I just know they're gonna mega evolve, and assuming they haven't mega, like there's no other Pokemon on the team that can mega, but you can never tell, you know, like there might be a Starmie or a Gren. Again, if you see a D9 Gren, again, you're playing the guessing game on who's megaing unless the Gren megas early. But at that point, if they leave Dragonite as like one of the last mons, assume it's gonna be mega, and then it just starts clicking buttons, and just starts snowballing out of control. Again, like there's not really any Ice Shard in here. You resist Mach Punch from the few Pokemon that even get that. Bullet Punch doesn't really exist. So you just come down to the fact that like this one is so much bulkier now due to Mega. It's faster, and it also hits significantly harder on the special attacking side. So yeah, I hate Dragonite, Mega Dragonite. I hate facing it because it always ends up winning. And a lot of people are shitting on it. I'm like, Mega Dragonite's good, guys. Like, I'm sorry. This mon has beaten me too many times for me to say it's a bad Pokemon, because it just gets the job done most of the time. Like, especially when you have such a good mon, aka Dragonite, 6th in usage at a 25% usage rate as your base Pokemon, because multi-scale, again, broken ass ability. So yeah, you're able to just set up an agility freely. A lot of people are using DD special attacking sets, but why would you do that when agility just doubles your speed, and you know, you can just start clicking buttons there. Again, like, it's a very hard hitting mod. So yeah, Will this Mons pick up in usage as the time goes on? I feel like it will, ever so slightly. I don't know if it will break that 10%, but it's definitely a Pokemon that will consistently stay OU just because people see Dragonite in OU. And I almost lost my mouse for a second. I thought my PC crashed. I was about to crash out. But yeah, like you see Dragonite in the builders near the top, and they're like, oh, the Mega actually looks cool. Like in terms of like appeal, Mega Dragonite, I don't think will drop from OU in my opinion. Vaporeon comes in at number 32 with 4.9% usage, and it's pretty much just making the cut. Again, the usage cutoff is 4.52. So Vaporeon is pretty much near the bottom of it. But at the same time, I'm really shocked that it is, because Vaporeon, as much I've said this since day one, Vaporeon is the Aloe of this tier. It has Wish, it has Flip Turn, it has Protect, and you know, it's relatively bulky. Now its Fizz Def bulk is, you know, pretty arse, built like a Clodsire. But in terms of its special defense stat, you're able to check some of the special walls in this special attackers in this metagame, like Greninja and Mega Dragonite, even special Hoopa, for example. You're able to check these mons. Now, in terms of like its issues, Vaporeon has a lot of issues. Now, its passivity is a really big thing. Like you can't really, like Volcanion kind of just stops you at every single corner. You have nothing to hit it with. Like you used to have Toxic, but now you don't. Volcanion is immune to Flip Turn and Scald. The Lurin Voice is a resisted hit. And the reason why I'm even running the Lurin Voice is because you'll pretty much Gren setup for it if you don't run a Lurin Voice. Because what happened before was what I was running Flip Turn plus Scald. But again, like you're just walled by water types, and there's particularly Greninja. So I need something to like punish the Greninja setting up a nasty play, or even just punish the Greninja in general, because the Lurin Voice is a 2-hit KO on Greninja. So like it's a really good thing to have a move like that in order to hit it. It also punishes dragon types that want to try and set up as well. And like, yeah, like just making sure like Vaporeon's not as passive as possible, because Scald would be really nice to have, but like you just don't really have the slots for it, particularly when 2 of your slots are taken out by Wish and Protect. So there's not much you can really do about that. I had a mixed like spread for Vaporeon, but low-key I don't remember what it was because I deleted the team it was on. But either way, this is typically what I'm running on Vaporeon, like standard set, like 248 HP, 8 defense, 252 special defense with a sassy nature. You go sassy because you want to be slower than Clefable, though teleport is obviously going to go last after you flip turn, but some Clefs aren't teleport, so it's a thing where you get a slower flip turn on mons that are around your speed tier, like Hisui. Oops, wrong way. We want this in this order. So Vaporeon's at base 65 speed, yeah? There's mons that are hovering around the base 60 speed tier that, obviously, if you go a speed reduction nature, you end up under speeding, like Aegislash, Clefable, Hisui, and Goodra. Even something like Tyranitar, you're able to get a slow flip turn off, and then you're able to get a slow wish in, like Aloe does. I'm pretty sure Aloe and Vapor have the same exact speed tier. So, like I said, it's the Aloe of fucking Z8. And you actually have the highest HP stat in the game. So you get those with fat wishes on like mons that are getting chipped. And I think Vaporeon's just good at that. But obviously you're not as effective as Aloe. You don't have Regenerator. Your ability is okay, but not that crazy. And then you end up just being a lot more passive. And it's crazy to say that Aloe feels less passive than Vapor just because Aloe, you know, can actually slot in like Scald and, you know, has some other stuff as well. But yeah, Vapo is a decent one in the metagame, and you know, I won't be surprised if it drops to UU next month, but at the same time, it still has its place in the metagame in my opinion. Alright, we're nearing the end of the list before we speak about the OU by technicality mons. Coming in at a 4.902 usage rate, Vaporeon was at 4.98. We have Starmie at number 33. Now this is base Starmie, by the way. Obviously, if you see a Starmie, you're going to assume it's just Mega Starmie. But, you know, base Starmie has seen some play as just like a rapid spinner. Again, if you want an alternative rapid spin option that is not Excadrill, the second most used one in the tier with a 34% usage rate, Starmie is right here for you. Now, I don't think Starmie is that good because, again, this is the one that's somewhat competing in the slot with Slowking and Slowbro just because they have identical typings. But at the same time, Slowbro and Slowking cannot, you know, rapid spin. They are not as fast as Star. Obviously, they're nowhere near Starmie speed tier. Starmie is fast enough to speed tower Zygarde. 10 is faster than Garchomp, and yeah. But otherwise, like it's okay. Like it's okay at what it does. if you just don't want to be using Rapid Spin Drill all the time. Like, look at our Rapid Spin options, and you'll see why some people like to use base Starmie. Like, I've seen some Blastoise even, but Blastoise is just no recovery and like hella passive as well. Again, there's another Pokemon that you have the Flip Turn versus Scald debacle. You kind of want Ice Beam as well to actually punish something like Garchomp. You maybe want Raw or Haze or something. Like, Blastoise has very massive poor move slot syndrome. Starmie doesn't really suffer from that. Like, it also gets Teleport if you feel like it. It gets Recover, Spin, T-Bolt combination. Maybe you drop Recover if you don't feel like it, but Natural Cure is pretty much the main ability. And in terms of EVs, I think I'll just go max special attack, max speed with Timid Nature, just so you could speed type Zygarde, threaten the 110s like Skarmory. You could threaten that with a Scald Burn. You can check Mega Dance with Scald as well. You even outspeed Scolipede. So, well, Scolipede doesn't really exist, but outspeeding Gengar is pretty big as well. So yeah, overall, Starmie's a decent mon. Don't know, it's still gonna see some play because again, it's Mega, will make it see some play, and even then, what do you call it? It's like, thing is, the Mega would be OU by technicality if base Starmie saw more usage, but since Starmie Mega sees more usage, it can actually drop to UU. But at the same time, like, I still think Starmie will stay OU by usage. And finally, the last one that made it to OU by usage in the October usage stats, Slowking, coming in at 4.89% usage at number 34. Slowking, there's not much to really say about Slowking. It's basically just Slowbro, but more specially defensively orientated. And like I mentioned with the Slowbro section, Slowbro still sees more play, because if you do this sort of spread with Slowbro with 16 defense, 240 special defense with a bold nature, you're still just bulkier than a Fizz Def Slowking. So why did people end up using Slowking in the first place? Just because the initial response to Starmie being able to, you know, Slowking could handle Starmie a bit better because it had higher special defense. But as you can see, you basically get Slowbro as Slowking with more defense while having the same special defense stat, basically. Like, even though you have one more point, it doesn't really matter. It really does not matter at all. Like, in terms of the calcs, they'll be exactly the same. So, yeah, other than that, Slowking just does the same thing. Like, there's not much else I have to really say on Slowking. I don't know if it'll continue to stay OU, because, again, Slowbro will see more usage. Because, again, even if you don't go this spread, like I mentioned, I don't really like going this spread regardless. You know, Slowbro has much higher physical defense in order to handle the physical threats that this tier has to offer, while Slowking, unfortunately, just can't really keep up in terms of that. Like, it's notably worse at taking physical hits than Slowbro max defense. Again, 284 versus 350. No brainer at all. But yeah, that is it for all the mons that are OU by usage, and we're quickly going to go over every single mon that's OU by technicality, and I'll explain what that means in a second right now. Alright guys, this is going to be the last section of the video. We're going to be going over every single mon that's OU by technicality, and what OU by technicality means, well, in response to pretty much all of these guys since their mega evolutions, since their base mons are OU by usage, and obviously if you need to access their mega forms, you need to use their base forms. It means that they cannot drop to UU because you can't access their OU forms in UU. So yeah, starting off with Mega Chesnaught, this one has the highest usage here with 3.275, which is a lot higher than the rest of these. If you can see the nicknames here, it shows like their nicknames are the usage. So yeah, 3.275% usage. And Mega Chesnaught, the reason why, like, obviously you didn't really make the cut is because like it's kind of a waste of a Mega, and I mean, I'm gonna say that a lot for most of these guys other than a few. But yeah, Mega Chesnaught is not really necessary to run due to the fact that base Chesnaught kind of just does the same thing without taking up your Mega slot, you know? Like, why are you gonna waste your Mega slot on a mon that just has slightly higher defense? Let me not even say it's slightly higher defense, significantly higher defense. But it's not really worth it because again, they just do the same role. What's cool about Mega Chesnaught is that it has an ability called Protective Thorns, which is a custom-made ability that combines the abilities of Bulletproof and Iron Barbs. Now, Bulletproof, obviously, you know, you mean you're immune to bullet moves, and Iron Barbs is Ferrothorn's ability. So yeah, it's a shame you can't run Rocky Helmet with this, but yeah, pretty much just does the same thing as Chesnaught, and you don't really need to waste your Mega slot on doing having a slightly better Chesnaught, you know? That's what I'm saying. Mega Clefable, on the other hand, this just suffers on the fact that Clefable is the best mon, or one of the top mons in the metagame, and its Mega Evolution is just worse than it in every single way. As you can see by these two very solid abilities that Clefable has in Magikarp and Unaware, why would you want to change that to be Serene Grace? now you're losing Magic Guard. It means you're now Stealth Rock weak with a Fairy Flying typing. But what I've used with Clefable here, some people are running CM with Air Slash and stuff like that. But what I was using this on webs, which was very nice because being able to slow down the metagame. Like, again, you're faster than base Clef, but base 70 speed is still like pretty below average. So that means that you're struggling to, like, you know, outspeed a lot of things without webs. So what I was running on webs is this. Obviously with Serene Grace Air Slash, you get 60% flinches like Togekiss, and, you know, either that will cheese you some wins, or, you know, you get unlucky and don't actually get the flinches. But either way, Clefable coming in at 1.6% usage, that's pretty much just it, like, being a sign that people are willing to test this one out, but not any more than that, because they're just better megas and you'd rather just use base Clefable. Drill is in a similar situation, though does have a bit more usage than Mega Clefable at 2.142%. Yeah, again, I was like, there was a guy that commented on the tier list video saying, why did I put Drill in B-? There's a reason. Like, this mon is not that crazy. Even with 165 attack and 103 speed, which is actually kind of insane. Like, Mega Garchomp wishes it had 102 or 103 speed. But, like, in the current metagame right now, there's no reason to waste your Mega Slot on Excadrill. Like, again, like, this is a more offensive Excadrill. It keeps Mold Breaker. We decided to let it keep Mold Breaker. If that Sand Rush, it would be a different conversation. This one would be banned. But, you know, like, typically, all I've seen on this guy is Iron Head, Earthquake, Rapid Spin. And to be fair, if you manage to get off the Rapid Spin, this is a very threatening Pokemon. I won't lie to you guys. Mold Breaker means Unaware Clef can't beat it, and again, it's coming in with 165 attack. This is the same attack stat as Mega Gallade, so obviously it hits very, very hard. But again, it's just not a Pokemon that you need to use when, like, Mega Greninja's running around. There's Mega Starmie. Like, there's just easier Megas to slot on teams, and there's easier Megas that can get you more wins, and Excadrill is not one of them, unfortunately. Mega Garchomp, I don't think I really need to explain why Mega Garchomp sucks. It has 0.7% usage, but this is pretty much the only set worth using. Like, again, I had a Mega Garchomp set that, you know, this had enough special attack investment to Oko Skarmory after rocks with a, you know, Fire Blast, and then obviously even with 160 attack investment, you get to 416 attack, which is actually still pretty strong in its own right. But again, Mega Garchomp has the same issues Mega Garchomp has had since Oras. Like, that's all I need to say. It's not a good mon. One mon I wish will see more usage as time goes on is Mega Gyarados. This is a very strong Pokemon, and particularly due to the fact that some of the top Mega Evolutions, including Greninja and Starmie, have a bad matchup against this guy. It just makes all the more reason for you to want to use Mega Gyarados. Hits very hard, especially after a boost. Sub DD pretty much gets the jump on things like Gourgeist. It gets the jump on Slowbro. Even, like, you can sub on Skarmory, and Skarmory is pretty much forced to Whirlwind out. What do you call it? Mold Breaker allows you to actually chip down Volcanion as well, even though you still have Crunch for that. But being able to, you know, get the 20% potential flinch on that would be pretty nice as well. And yeah, your stabs are just very powerful. You've seen how strong Greninja's dual stab combination is. Gyarados has the same exact thing. So yeah, this is also a very solid mon. I wish we'll see more usage. I've been laddering up with Mega Gyarados. It's a very fun mon to use, I'm not gonna lie. Mega Scizor, on the other hand, coming in at 1.1% usage. There's just not, like, it's a good mon. I've used Mega Scizor, but again, it's kind of just the same reason that, like, there's just stronger Megas to use. Like, a lot of these older Megas are, like, slightly falling behind. Not to say they're terrible Pokemon. They're not really, they can't really be terrible in the more limited decks. A lot of their traditional checks just don't exist in these tiers. But, like, Scizor is, like, I don't know, like, you're wasting your Mega Slot when base Scizor kind of can get the same thing done. Mega Slowbro, I don't think we really need to explain why this is even the lowest of the usage, 0.2. Like, hardly anyone really used this guy. You're just worse Slowbro. Like, you don't have Regenerator, and you don't really need to use this. Not much else to say. And then finally, Mega Cheetah. This is definitely on the better side, even though it only has 0.3% usage. But, what do you call it? This one is more comfortable at using Dragon Dance sets. Even though you're still slower than, like, I think you're still slower than, like, Mega Gren, but that's the one you could actually still just get a second DD up against. And then, I'm not gonna lie, what's stopping the +2 Cheetah? I'm not gonna lie. Like, this thing is actually really, really dangerous. But yeah, like, it's just a Mega that like, you don't really need to run, but I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just that, like, you don't need to run it. Like, Banded Tita really gets the job done with Pursuit Trapping, and then I guess you can just go Ice Punch the Oko Garchomp if you really need to. But yeah, this is all you really need on Mega Tita. I think you do need Adamant, or else you don't outspeed like base 130 Jolly, or you don't outspeed base 130s, or like I think you just about outspeed Mega Delphox, so that's why you kind of need to have 265. So yeah, overall that is done. That's the whole video done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I did enjoy speaking about a lot of these Pokemon, and yeah, let me know down below what you think of how Legends ZA OU is shaping up, what Mons should have ended up OU, for example, because I'm not gonna lie, looking at UU right now, there's a lot of Mons that are in here where you're just like, how the hell did they make it here? Like Zard X, Zard Y, even something like Mega Gallade and Megalophony. Those were the really standout picks where I'm like, wow, those guys didn't make the cut. But yeah, let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.